Welcome in. Right now we're solo, but fear not. People will be here. We will be having guests as always for us to talk about all of the college football action. And I personally, well, I can't wait. Edward, thank you for being in here. Poetic saying you're stuck at work, so this is right on time. A little late, but listen, we're here and we're ready to talk some football. Dr. Strange in the house. Joseph in the house. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Hope everybody is safe. I know there's a lot of craziness out there right now with all those hurricanes, with the floods, with all of that going on. So hopefully you all are safe, you're sound, you're ready to talk some football. And what a weekend of football it was. What a weekend of football it was. There's a lot for us to discuss, right? There's a lot of SEC action we need to get into. We can talk about Alabama's great win against Georgia. In fact, the game of the year thus far. We can also talk about Kentucky spoiling the party. And really, if you're Georgia, you feel good about that. We'll unpack that here in a second. Oklahoma absolutely shocked Auburn in a game where, though I had picked Oklahoma to win that game, we're going to talk about why I think Oklahoma shocked Auburn and probably some college football fans out there. Outside of that, you had Wisconsin really play USC well for a large portion of that game. USC ended up taking it over, but I was encouraged by what I saw out of Wisconsin. USC is a team that's difficult to pin right now, difficult to tell who they are, but that made Wisconsin look like a far more competent team than Alabama made them look like. So that's something interesting to see. We have Bino in here. Mike Jones, what's up, Mike? Happy you're in here. Hope you're having a good evening. Comanche Sooner saying, good evening, everyone. Boomer and Roll Tide Roll. Hey, big win for the Sooners. That's, I think, where we'll start this evening, because though I had picked Oklahoma, Comanche, I don't think a lot of people outside of myself or kind of our content group had picked Oklahoma. And I understand why. We're going to unpack that. Anitra, happy you're here. Good evening. Hopefully you're having a great start to your week for this Monday. Eric, glad to see you in here as always. My man Todd, Roll Tide as always. So let's start with this Oklahoma game, because this is a fascinating game from the standpoint of, in pretty much every metric that people look to and say, hey, that's how we win a football game. Hey, Steven, I've told you for a while, it's only cursed for Alabama and Georgia. Everybody else, it's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I don't know why it is that way, but whenever Bama and Georgia roll in there, it's like the 85 Bears. Everybody else, it's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So we're actually starting with your game. LaQuasia, happy you're in here. Happy to see you. Hopefully you're having a great start to your week. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening. Goof, happy to see you, my man. Eric, happy you're here. Well, we're starting off with this game. And I have to be honest, for the OU fans in here, I understand if the media at large was doubting Oklahoma coming into this game to a degree. Now, what is that degree? One, I don't think Auburn's very good. Now, in fairness to Auburn, I think we saw Auburn play their best football game against Oklahoma. That's the best Auburn has looked, just given the eye test. But I still don't think Auburn is a world beater. I just don't. Everything I've seen this year, I just don't. And in fairness, Steven even saying, to be fair, I was even doubting OU. And Steven, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not your defense. Your defense is solid. Those guys have really allowed Oklahoma to be in any game they've been in. Whenever you're down, you're starting 5 wide receivers. And that's the narrative. Everybody's talking about, OU is down there starting 5 wide receivers. That's tough. That's very tough. But it's deeper than that. An offensive lineman that was going to be a starter out for the year. Kendall Dolby out. Gentry Williams out. Like, it's deeper than just the 5 wide receivers. This is still an offensive line playing musical chairs. Biedenbo's doing the best he can right now. You just had a quarterback switch. So the offense that you had rolled out, now you're back at the drawing board. Essentially, if you're Oklahoma's coaching staff, this is basically like the first day of fall camp. Problem is it's happening during the season. So whenever there were those out there that said, "Hey, I I think Auburn's going to win this game," though I disagreed, if their reasoning was, "I think Auburn's going to win this game because Oklahoma is limping into this game." Mike Hawkins, talented young man, first road game in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Whether it's cursed for everybody or not, it's still a road game in the SEC. I mean, that place is raucous. It gets loud. He hasn't experienced that. He just came from high school where, don't get me wrong, he played great football. It's different. And then all those injuries. I understood, but I disagreed. And I disagreed for the reasons why Oklahoma ended up winning this football game. Because at the end of the day, this Auburn team, I can count on one thing and one thing only. That whenever it gets to be a critical moment, they are going to turn the ball over. And like clockwork, there it was. In fact, someone was messaging me on Twitter and we were kind of going back and forth and they were saying, "Hey, so far you've gotten this OU Auburn game pretty close." And I said, not as close as I would have liked. I had Oklahoma winning this game and I thought Auburn would turn the ball over far more than they did. About 3 minutes after I sent that, pick six. Poetic, you know? And there's a lot of talk right now. Is this on Peyton Thorne? Is this on the coaching staff? There's no way it's not on Peyton Thorne, right? I think we can all agree to that. But at the same time, I want everybody here to play couch coach, our favorite thing. And our favorite guest is in here right now, and I get to have him play couch coach for me. This is going to be great. Coach Sean, how are you today, my man?
What's up, Todd? What's going on with your brother? How you feeling? How you doing?
Well, we're feeling good. Listen, Alabama had an ugly 2 quarters, quarter and a half, right? The back half of the fourth quarter, I think as tired as the defense was, they played pretty well. Fourth down killed us, but we'll get to that in a bit. But Auburn lost. So you want to talk about like a double dipper, right? Here we are. And that's where we're at right now, Coach Sean. And I was talking about how Auburn played better than I think I've seen them play all year. Just from the eye test, that was the best defense Auburn has played. And that looked like a competent offense. Coach Sean, I'm going to read you some stats. And if I said these stats to anybody, they would say Auburn won the game. Auburn had, I think, 26 first downs to Oklahoma's 11. Auburn had 482 yards to Oklahoma's 291. Auburn had a 35-minute time of possession to Oklahoma's 24-minute time of possession, which kind of goes back to a conversation we had, what was it, Coach, 2 weeks ago, where we said time of possession, it's not a meaningless stat, but if you're
Right.
not doing anything with that time, it can become a meaningless stat very quickly. I think Auburn kind of proved that in this game. That, like, yeah, it's great that you kept OU's offense on the field, but at the end of the day, you lost the game and you had 11 more minutes of ball control. That's almost an entire quarter of ball control, but you didn't do anything with it. Now, Coach, this is where I've asked everybody in the chat to play couch quarterback. And Richard, you're beating me to it. You're beating me to it, my man. I love it. But, Coach, I want you to start us off playing couch quarterback. Couch coach, if you will. You know that even though your offense is playing better than it's played all year against a genuine defense in Oklahoma offense has its problems. We've acknowledged that. That defense, God bless them, because they're the reason that team has even been in games. But you know, if you're the coach of Auburn, that you have a quarterback who's prone to turnovers. We are not in an age anymore, Coach Sean, where you can't talk to the quarterbacks. They have mics. They can talk to them. Oklahoma lines up in a 3-man front. You're driving down the field. You have a running back averaging 5 yards a pop right now, and they throw it. I know people are saying this is on Peyton Thorne, Coach, and I don't disagree. At a certain level, every interception most interceptions, right? Not all interceptions are created equal. We'll talk about one that's kind of the exception. Most interceptions at some level are on the quarterback. But Coach Sean, my thing is like, this guy's a turnover machine. He's been a turnover machine all year. He's had back-to-back games of 4 interceptions. You're averaging 5 yards a pop. Oklahoma's in a 3-man front. You can talk to the kid. Run the damn ball. Am I overthinking this, or how do you see this?
Nah, you're not overthinking it. I don't think you're overthinking it at all. The thing is, I think Hugh Freeze panicked. I think he panicked. I think he started calling plays. If you watch Hugh Freeze, man, just to me, when I watch his play script, it's so 2012-ish. It's so like I don't even understand like empty sets, quarterback sneak up the middle. Like, bro, listen, I'm taking none of the onus off Peyton, because he threw the ball into coverage. Boom. Taking none of the onus off Peyton. They're not really giving this kid a lot to be successful at, It's like they don't trust their receivers down the field a lot. So they run them on these crossers. The ball hitting the receivers in their hands. They're dropping it. It's almost like they're scared to get hit. They're not helping their quarterback out a lot. They're not giving him a lot of help right now. The running game, outside of the running game, right? There were several plays in that down and distance in that part of the field that he could have ran, and he chose to throw the ball. You know what I mean? Especially with a 3-man front. I mean, I would have to go back and look at what down and distance it was. Second and what? Third and what?
3rd and 5. You have a running back
Third and
averaging
5.
5
Shout out to
yards a
Brent.
pop.
Yeah.
And here's my other thing, Coach. One more caveat. Because, Stephen, you're not wrong. And this is a very fair point, Stephen. And I do want to acknowledge this. Up until this game, the way to attack Oklahoma's defense was down the field, right? Like, you had to test their secondary because they just weren't allowing teams to run on them. I mean, you can even look at Tennessee. Tennessee wasn't able to establish much. But in this game, Auburn was. Jarquez Hunter had 97 yards on 17 carries. It's 3rd and 5. 3-man front. That's where I just, Coach, I don't get it. I don't get it for the life of me.
Facts. Brentski, what up, brother?
What's going on with y'all, man? I just got back in from the Braves game.
Oh, for real?
Game 1. Game 1, which they blew.
I see you. Oh, well, that's not fun.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you to play couch coach, Brensky.
Yes, sir.
As I love to do. In this game, Auburn, Oklahoma, I'm not taking the responsibility off Peyton Thorne. You threw the ball. Mm-hmm. Kip Lewis drops into coverage, read it like a damn book. That cat's dangerous, too. I know we talk a lot about Danny Stutzman. Kip is one of them. He really is. He's not the biggest linebacker, but he's a little bit like Justin Jefferson for Alabama, gentlemen, where he flies around, and he's not as big as Stutz. I mean, look, the TV can be deceiving, but when he's next to Stutz, there definitely seems to be a discrepancy. But that doesn't stop him from crashing out. I mean, this kid will see a hole open up, and he is going in there with violent, reckless abandon. He does not care. I mean, he is a dude. Love his game. As Unfair Sports is in here. Jay, I told you, what was it, a year ago? That Kip, that was probably, I don't want to say my favorite because I can't tell you how much I enjoy watching Stutz play, right? He just feels like a linebacker through and through. But Kip's up there. Anyways, Brinsky, playing couch coach. I'm going to give you the parameters. Auburn is outgaining Oklahoma by almost 200 yards right now, okay? They're dominating the time of possession. Oklahoma has several wide receivers out. They have several offensive linemen out. They have several defensive backs out. You're winning the game. It's 3rd and 5. Run the damn ball. You have a quarterback who's made it. God, he is the Oprah Winfrey of college football quarterbacks. He just hands them bad boys out. A few weeks ago, they took someone out the stands for him to throw an interception to. I mean, it is truly charity work over there at Jordan-Hare. Run the damn ball. Am I overthinking that? Jarquez Hunter is having himself a day. Let me see what he was averaging, but it was damn near 5 yards a pop.
Mm-hmm.
He was at 5.7 yards a pop. No, ESPN, I don't want to listen to your music. Talk to me, Brinsky.
That's Jay.
If I'm not mistaken, the play before, because I remember Jarquez got like 16 yards, 16, 17 yards. Then like that got him a first down. Then the next play, Payne Thorne got like 8 yards. That was second and second. Then they lost 2 yards. That made it 3rd and 4th. I think just because they seen that lost a yard, that's why they tried to be cute on it and try to pass it. But you should have just ran the ball. You clearly see that they can't stop you running right now. And the offense was very stagnant to that point. You should have just outside of that long pass play, your defense was basically playing.
Your defense is playing well.
Mm-hmm. And so even though he passed, like, I wish he didn't, because it was just like, you can clearly see that they read that to a T. It looked like it got tipped. And I'm talking about it happened at the worst time. Like, what happened with Auburn is like, they just don't have bad mistakes. They have catastrophic mistakes.
That's so true.
It's just not even just bad. Like, oh, we just got it intercepted and they just fell down. They get it intercepted and then they get taken to the house or stuff like that. So I believe it's definitely on Payton Thorne. He should have never made that throw. He better off just trying to run it or throw it away or try to find somebody else, because that was just an awful throw. Cam Coleman had a DK Metcalf trying to run down there and stop it. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that play, like his hustle, like how fast he is if you get him in the open field, because he just straight tracked him down like he was a cheetah on a gazelle. So, but Auburn got a lot to work on, and the quarterback position is where they having the most problems. And I know they wish they got Cam Ward out the portal and really signed him when he came to Auburn. So it's coming back to bite him right now.
I couldn't have said it better. Corporate Duck with the 199 saying Sooner Magic is greater than Jordan-Hare voodoo. You're not wrong. You're certainly not wrong, because listen, that you needed a big play. You got a big play on the heels of that defense. And I think that the bye week for Oklahoma, right before I pass this to Jance, my last thoughts on this, I think that the bye week for Oklahoma couldn't come at a better time. That defense is exhausted. Like, they still played well, not my contention, but they are exhausted. They need a break, and they need it bad. And this is coming at a perfect time for them to sit down, lay down, get some sleep, because Texas is a good team, guys. Like, they're a really good team. They are. I'm very excited for the Red River Rivalry. All conventional wisdom. It's like BAM. It's like the Iron Bowl. All conventional wisdom goes out the game. But OU really needs the time for that defense to recover. And hopefully, listen, at this point in Jance, this is where I kind of want to start with you. Plus, ask you the question, who's the interception on? Obviously, it's on Payton Thorne, but if your quarterback is the Oprah Winfrey of college football quarterbacks and just gives the ball away, why are you passing against a three-man front that's one of the most opportunistic secondaries and defenses in the nation, and you can't stop turning the ball over? One, that, but two, Michael Hawkins, young quarterback, obviously has some juice. Very exciting player to watch. It's time to just unleash the offense, right? Like you tell the young man, hey, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. No worries. We get it. You're young, but we've got to just open the playbook up and say, let's go. Whatever happens, happens. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, first of all, the interception's on Hugh Freeze.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
Like, why would you call that play in the first place? I mean, your defense has been playing really well. I mean, prior to that drive, I think Oklahoma scored. So it's, for the most part, if you wanted to, I mean, you punt the ball. If you go 3 and out, punt the ball. you make Oklahoma work the field. But instead, you decided to call that play, trust Peyton Thorne, who, let's be honest, Peyton Thorne has not been the best quarterback. And all of a sudden, Oklahoma, they were able to, get an opportunity, was able to cut in and get the pick, and it almost became a pick six. But no, Auburn deserved. It's just bad coaching. Bad coaching. Obviously, again, we know Peyton Thorne, for the most part, is not the greatest quarterback in the world. He's not going to see a lot of the stuff that's going to be shown to him. But that's just bad coaching. And again, this is unfortunately the accident waiting to happen, which is the Auburn Tigers. They are a football team that for 3.5 quarters, they will make any team look like nothing. They'll make the number one team look like trash. I mean, we've experienced it 2 times going in there where, we almost lost. We probably should have lost to an Auburn team that got blown out by New Mexico State. But all of a sudden, when you go in there, you compete, and it's 90,000 plus in Jordan-Hare. It's one of the loudest environments you ever go to. It's one of the most intimidating environments you ever see. For 3.5 quarters, Auburn will kick your ass. They'll kick your ass for 3.5 quarters, and then the last 5 minutes of the game, Auburn will just make Auburn mistakes. It doesn't matter who the coach is. Doesn't matter if it's Harsin. Doesn't matter if it's Malzahn. Doesn't matter if it's Hugh Freeze. And the crazy part is, I would say that Malzahn is the only one that at least can close these games out. He can get these upsets. He can beat these top-ranked teams inside of Jordan-Hare because he will not make foolish decisions. Why? Because he's because he's going to run the football. And so when I take a look at Hugh Freeze, man, like I said, I just thought that he got too cute. Again, he felt that the momentum was on Auburn's side and wanted to kind of keep it that way because Oklahoma had scored a touchdown previously. So I thought that he probably wanted to go up a little bit bigger so he can try to put the game away because he felt like Hawkins was not going to be the one capable of coming back down. I think at that point, what was it? It was 21-10. So I want to say 3 scores down. If Auburn was to score another, at least get a field goal, it would have been 24-10. It would have been a 2 touchdown game. But if they would have got the 28-10, the game probably would have been over then. But I think the game, possibly could have been over if they simply would have just ran the clock down and just punt the football. And Auburn didn't do that. They didn't run the clock down. They decided to just be cute, too antsy, and just trusted this passing attack in order for them to bail them out when it should have been Jaquez Hunter, who's been averaging 6.7 yards per carry for the season. He's been one of the top running backs in the country that, for the most part, has just, in my opinion, he's been underutilized. I thought, in all honesty, I got to give some credit to Auburn's offensive line. I thought they did a fantastic job on Saturday. I thought they did a fantastic job. That is not easy going against that Oklahoma. And listen, that front seven's banged up. Right, they've suffered some key injuries, but it's one of those defenses where they have 3 guys in rotation. They have 3 guys deep in rotation that are absolutely fantastic. But Auburn's offensive line, I thought, did a really, really good job dealing with the circumstances. Was able to open up holes. I thought they did a really, really good job. But again, this is on coaching. Coaching is the reason why they lost that football game, and coaching is the reason why Auburn is going to win probably maybe 4 to 5 games this season. And the crazy part is, like I get it. Like, when you look at Auburn's receiving core, it might just be one of the best or most underrated receiving cores in the country because they got 4 dudes down there, man, that can ball. If you just give them a competent quarterback, they are extremely talented. But the problem is, again, when you don't have a competent quarterback, when you have an offensive coordinator that, for the most part, is kind of overusing the personnel, this is the result that you're going to get. So, Oklahoma escaped a win that they probably should have never even gotten in the first place, but Auburn chucked it away as usual when they play in Jordan-Hare against big-time opponents.
Yeah, that and, Oklahoma's defense came up big for them. But I think it's time, especially with Michael Hawkins. You got to open up the playbook. I know he's young, but it's one of those things where if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm telling him, hey, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Don't let it shake your confidence. We'll be good, but we've just got to open it up and run it. Dr. Strange with the $2 donation saying Alabama versus Georgia 3 times possible if both teams win out SEC plus. Yeah, it could happen, unfortunately. And listen, DeBoer showed very clearly that he knows how to attack Kirby's defense, right? He showed that he, when the time came, when the pressure was on, he showed he knew how to attack. At the beginning of the game, he had that Georgia defense seeing ghosts. They didn't know what was going to happen. But I'm not going to lie to you, Dr. Strange. Georgia's got to go to Texas. And I know before we were saying Georgia's got to go to Ole Miss. That Ole Miss secondary isn't that great at all. Front's good, but that secondary is suspect. I don't know that Georgia beats Texas. I think that's a game that we got to keep an eye out on because Texas, I mean, what's the real weak part of Texas right now? Maybe that they have some injuries, right? Like, they're talented, man. They're very talented. I don't know that Georgia gets past Texas. I don't. Let me get to some comments, guys. What OU wide receivers are back for Texas? I have no idea. But it's Homer, have you ever seen a team preseason and even to now this injured? Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you're right. Texas's running backs are injured. And that sucks because I was so excited to see Baxter. But have you ever seen a team as injured as Oklahoma? I don't know if I have. Guys, can y'all think of a team? Like, the closest I think of, Coach Sean, is the Bama year, where it was just like another day goes by and Dylan Moses is out for the year. Mac Wilson's out for the year. And it's just like, who else?
We had 7 starters on one side of the ball. We had 2 true freshman middle linebackers in Shane Lee and Christian Harris. DJ Dale was a freshman. Shane Lee and Christian Harris was a freshman. It was a defensive back that year that was a freshman as well that was starting. Jordan Battle was a freshman. Yep. Jordan Battle was a freshman. All these kids had to play because of injuries to other people, and it was terrible that year, man.
It was rough. OU's injuries are absurd. That's my thing, man. Like, and that's why, Homer, I know I've caught a lot of flack from some of the Texas fans where I'm like, I don't know. Like, whenever I was like, should OU, how worried should OU be? My first question was like, how soon are you going to be healthy? And then I had another question. It was like, what should OU do? And it's like, I don't know. You're so injured. I don't know who to blame, because it's like, if you have 1 or 2 key injuries, it's like, okay, you got to figure something out. But when you get to this point in the injury department, it's like, you're not Jesus, right? You're not a miracle worker. You're I don't know what to do. So many dudes are out. I know. I'm very excited for your Red River Rivalry game breakdown. That's always going to be great. Bama fans, for those of you probably not familiar, you are familiar with Texas Homer's content, because I've seen many of you in this chat over at his channel whenever he would do those back-to-back Alabama breakdowns whenever Texas played Alabama. And I got to say, the response I saw on his channel in the comment, y'all loved the work he did, and it's easy to understand why. Easily one of the best YouTube channels on this platform. Notice I said YouTube channel, not sport channels. One of the best channels on this platform, regardless of college football, NFL, sports, entertainment, you know it. Such high quality content, and always look forward to the videos you put out, man. Always very exciting. Guys, any last thoughts on this Auburn-Oklahoma game before we move forward?
I'm happy they lost. That's all I wanted to say. It's always good to just see Auburn lose. Hugh Freeze look sad because, you know, we played him 9 out of 10 times. We would have beat him. His claim to fame, I beat Nick Saban 2 times. It could have been 3 if it wasn't for that comeback. But hey, I love to see Auburn fail. It always makes me feel good inside.
You know the part that he didn't say, Brensky?
What's that?
He didn't talk about how he could just as equally be winless against Nick Saban, because one of the wins he got was the pinball, where the ball bounced off of like 8 people's helmets. The guy caught it, came out of nowhere. Wasn't the intended receiver, came out of absolutely nowhere, caught the ball out of midair, ran it in for a touchdown. Alabama fumbled the kick. I mean, he could just as easily be winless. Now, he won those games. All power to you. The only reason why I am making that argument is because he's like, oh, I should have won more. Well, if you want to play the shoulda game, you probably shouldn't have won any of them. So what do we want to do here? If you would have played Arkansas 9 more times, well, you said he would have won all 9 of them. Guys, they wouldn't have won 4 of them. If they replay that game 10 times, they'll be lucky to get 4 wins. I have some questions I want to answer. Scott says, why were we in cover 1 80% of the game that allowed UGA to pick us apart? And clock management was an issue too. We were up by 16 late in the third quarter, snapping and pass. Scott, I'll give my take and then pass it around the table for all the guys to kind of contribute in. We were, I think, in cover 1 80% of the game because most of the time we were sending so much pressure at Beck, it was confusing him to a really high degree. And I think going into the game, they really thought that the run would be a bigger situation. Now, I don't understand why after halftime, then you move into a too high safety. Because anytime we were in too high, whether we showed it or not, I mean, they really struggled. When Bama would show single high and then Malachi would bail into a too high look, Georgia struggled. I mean, Beck almost threw an interception to Malachi whenever Malachi bailed because, that's an unfortunate freeze frame right there. Beck almost threw an interception to Malachi because he had bailed and Beck didn't see it. So I'm like you, man. I don't mind going single high for much of the first half. And I don't mind even showing them that we're in single high, just trying to keep them off balance. But when they start just passing the ball downfield, go too high. And then quickly before I pass it to Coach Sean Jansen and Brinsky, whenever the clock management, I don't know. I think that they were just trying to keep their identity, even though they had kind of gone back into some base concepts. We didn't see as much pre-snap motion. That's the only thing I can think of, but I 100% agree with you, Scott. Coach Sean and I were talking about this. I 100% agree with you. Run the clock down and keep your same offense. Like you can slow it down, but keep the pre-snap motion, all of that. I don't know. Coach Sean, talk to me.
Listen. We keep it real, right? We keep it real. We don't do the crimson glasses thing and all of that, and we don't do that. We tell the truth on these stations, right? Respectfully. I had people in my inbox, other people I talked to. I told you, Coach Sean, we could beat them. We knew we could beat them, but you act like we whipped their asses or something. We may have whipped their asses the first half, excuse me. But the second half, one can make the argument that we got our asses whipped, all besides that one play with Ryan Williams. So don't look now, but we almost lost, bro. Well, like, what the hell? What game was you watching? You know what I'm saying? I was the ultimate high of high. I think Brinsky said it. The high of high, the low of lows, and back to the high of high again. Bro, we had this team 30 to 7, 6, or something like that. And they took the lead, bro. Think about that for a minute. We had this team 30 to whatever the hell it was, and they had the lead in the game. That don't bother y'all? Shit, it bothered me because I seen plenty that I'm concerned about. Plenty. One, clock management, just like Scott said, was ass. It was. We was running tempo, bro. The defense was tired as all get out, bro. I ain't never seen Tim Keenan bent over with his hands on his hips. I ain't never seen Tim like that, right? How do we respond? We couldn't even put together a simple drive, right? We kept running quarterback sneaks and running to the edge when they clearly have adjusted and defending the edges. They was willing to give up the middle to defend the edge. Look where their linebackers were positioned in the second half. They clearly was said, if they're going to beat us, it's not going to be by running to the edge. And we just kept running to the damn edge. I have no clue why, right? And then we kept running out of bounds. What the hell do we keep running out of bounds? All you're doing is helping them, right? Defense, gas, tired. They all get out. How do we respond? We go tempo, 3 and out. Defense right back on the field in 3 minutes. Brother, we got to do better than that, man. We got to do better than that. I don't give a damn. Don't hit me with that. We won, no stuff. This is the truth, man. This is the truth, right? That clock management was terrible. Terrible, bro. It just was. Um, Running tempo at a time like that is terrible. What is the purpose of having this great offensive line who has played well this game if we just can't line up in 12 personnel and give it to Jam, give it to Justice? Now, if Jam and Justice want to start that pop to the outside, stop running stuff, then put in number 20 Daniel Hill because he's a thumper. He ain't gonna fumble and he'll tote that tater, as Mark Ingram say, right? He's it was several times we had the hole. We chose to stop contact and bring it to the outside and get caught. Bro, I did a video about 3 months ago. Go back and look by Jam. I love Jam. Love him. When you get him going on the edges, he's one of the best. But he has a tendency when the hole is there to stop and want to pop everything to the outside. Justice is the only thing about Justice. Justice is a jump cut back. So if the hole is not there, he's sort of patient to the point where it almost looks like he's barely running. That's because he's waiting for the hole to develop. He's a jump cut guy, right? And that's fine. Those are great attributes to have, brother. We're gonna need them for the rest of the season. But when you need somebody to line up and thump, we need 3 yards. Damn the juking, damn the spinning. I would put Daniel Hill in there. Trust number 20. Put that kid in there and let him thump, man. We got to lower your shoulder to get 3 yards, man. All this jumping and cutting and all this. They used to get on us so bad about that. I played the position. I know how it is when it's 3rd and 3 and you want to jump and juke. And I used to get mad at Najee Harris for that. I used to get so frustrated with Najee because Najee's 6'2", 230, and I want him to be Derrick Henry. But he's not Derrick Henry. He's not even Josh Jacobs. He's Dalvin Cook, the bigger one, bigger Dalvin Cook. His own read, his own back. He's just big as hell, right? I want the back that's going to lower your shoulder like Josh and get up in the hole and get me them damn 3 yards, man, right? We chose to go tempo, bad clock management. We chose to run all these ridiculous edge plays, bad clock management. I'm going to tell you the real reason why we ran these things, and it's just the truth. I've been in that position before. And if you played, you know. I'm going to use the correct language here, not to cuss on Chai's channel. That was that gluteus maximus virgin hole that got real tight, real tight, real tight. That's what that was. That's what that was. You got vanilla because you was hoping time would run out, defense was stopping, and that's concerning to me, brother, because that's Pac-12-ish. That's not SEC-ish. Here, you have got to be able to run the ball when it's not feasible to run the ball. I don't give a damn about what you're doing 1st and 10 and when you get 30 yards. No, it's 3rd and 3. Everybody know you're going to run the ball. I need you to be able to run the ball. You know what I'm saying? That's the SEC. Trench warfare. What you got these big behemoths up there for, pinning and pulling. That clock management was terrible. I'm happy about the game. Don't get me wrong. We love beating Georgia. Thank God we'd rather have this than the alternative. But miss me with that like y'all didn't see that second half. Miss me with that, bro. At vision coverage, they picked. Why was we in single safety high? They clearly in 5 wide, but we going 0 press man across the board. That's cool if you got Kool-Aid and Terry on. I mean, brother, we was asking to get beat, right? Maybe that was just a grow up moment. I don't know, but you almost effed it up. You almost effed it up, and that's how I see it, bro.
Yeah, and one thing I will say from your right, Coach, if you looked at the grades, the run blocking grades for Bama are abysmal. Like, I think they graded it a 50 in run blocking. It was not good at all. And I don't know why, right? Pass blocking, they graded very well. But run blocking, they just did not grade well whatsoever. And that was really interesting to me. And someone else said it. I'm trying to find who it was. I believe it was Alpha. Coach Sean and I were texting about this. Justice Haynes gets to the edge, has the first down, and out the corner of his eye sees a Georgia defender bearing down on him and just stopped.
See, that was stopped because he wanted the juke. The juke, I want to juke. That's that.
But he could have just turned to the sideline and ran, and he would have had more space. Like,
that's when those big backs who enjoy contact come in. That's when you got those 230-pounders. That's when you got to put Daniel Hill in there, just thump him, man. Run him off tackle. and just thump. At some point in time, like we did last year, you gotta pound on them a little bit, man. Roy Dale, for what you want to say, Roy Dale was the same size as these guys, but Roy Dale was not a juker. He was a straight line kid. He wherever the hole is, that's where he's going. He's not gonna try to, and that worked against him a lot in that offense last year. But you need a back, brother, that's gonna lower the shoulder and get the 3 yards, man. You gotta have that, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, Coach, before I pass this to Jance, the thing that frustrates me is, like you said, they took their foot off the gas, and then in the fourth quarter, whenever the urgency came back, boom, you hit them over the top. And in my mind, it's like, okay, so if you know you can generate points, let's not get cute.
All that stuff we was doing, that was like,
I didn't mind the law throw, just because to me that one was like, they're seeing ghosts right now. I think that was meant to be the Mike Tyson, like, oh, we're gonna hit you with this. But the other one, Coach Sean, the triple whoopty-doopty reverse,
man,
that made no sense to me.
Yeah, you're doing too much. See, sometimes you can outcoach yourself. Sometimes you can outcoach yourself, bro. And if you watch on the Ryan Williams catch, Jalen didn't go through no progress. That was hike. That was in the huddle. Coach Jay, I'm coming to you. I don't give it. If they 1-on-1, I'm throwing it to you. Jalen hiked, took the 3 steps, boom, and let that thing go. He didn't look nowhere else. That was strictly, I'm throwing it this way, guaranteed. And it worked out, man. Thank God for Ryan Williams.
100%. Jance, what's your thoughts on this comment?
All right, give me a second here. Okay, so a lot of the times, because I had to kind of go back and watch it a little bit, but sorry, I got some chips in my mouth. All right, but for the most,
Doritos?
Most part, no, it's barbecue. It's
I'll
barbecue chips. Man. It's not Lay's. I got the 99-cent store kind, but I would say if you take a look at our defensive alignments, at least what worked was a lot of we were disguising a lot of our coverages. We were showing 0, we were showing some 1. We showed sort of different sort of defensive alignments. Carson Beck's dropping back, and all of a sudden he's watching. Oh, wait a minute, that's cover 2. Oh no, wait a minute, and then he's watching to the other side. Oh, wait a minute, that's cover 3. And then all of a sudden, like, no, wait, is that cover 6? Are we in cover? Is that cover 6? Are they in cover 9? Are they in cover 3? Like we showed a lot of different things to Carson Beck that honestly Georgia just didn't see on tape. Like, Kirby Smart, for the most part, he admitted it. He admitted it for the most part. Like, listen, like we weren't prepared enough. And I think what he meant by it, again, normally coaches like to say it, but I truly think that they were not prepared for this defense. Why? Because we didn't show a lot of this. And this was the kind of thing that I think Coach Miro was talking about, of saying we're just getting started with this defense. That's something that he talked about all during the offseason. Was like listen, like not a lot of teams are going to see what a 4-2-5 defense and what a Womack defense can do. They're not going to see it. And this was kind of the first game that I just felt like we kind of revealed the majority of what we can do against a superior opponent like Carson Beck, because you can tell he never seen anything like this. Like, we're running split. What's to him, it's looking like split. It's looking like split coverages. It's just cover 6. Literally, one side he's thinking, okay, it's cover 3, and then he's looking for the deep post. Like, wait a minute, what is that? Are they in cover 2? Nope, that's not exactly what we're in. And so we were disguising a lot, and I mean a lot, in that first half. We were confusing the crap out of him. And the one thing that I think that Georgia did right in the second half that made them a little bit more successful was that in that first half, the only thing that I thought was really working for them was when they were just going down the field. They were just hitting vertically, and they were using Dylan Bell. They were using Arian Smith when he dropped that crucial pass. And that's kind of the one thing about some of the coverages that we did, was that you're leaving your corner. Like, there's no safety help for the most part, at least on one side of the field. There's no safety help for one of these corners. Like, right, if you're going to be running some cover 3, Xavier Brown's going to drop. What is he going to do? He's dropping back. He's dropping all the way back. Like, yes, somebody's going to be down low to kind of help, but a corner is dropping back. Damani Jackson, for the most part, is going to be dropping back. And so that's going to be leaving a lot of one-on-one opportunities on the outside for these receivers to go ahead and get open. And so yes, we were playing. So yes, we were playing one. We were definitely playing some one. But I won't even say that the majority of the time we were in one. We were showing that we were in, that we're there, and then we went into something else. And I think that Carson Beck and Mike Bobo, and I got to give a lot of credit to them, they saw through the BS, because instead of them just saying, okay, you know what, we're going to change up the route concepts. We're going to change up the route concepts. We're just going to, but we're not going to make it too complicated. We're just going to simplify it. If we see a matchup if we see a matchup that we like one-on-one, take the shot, because for the most part, because like all this crap that they're doing with 0-1, and they were bringing the safeties down. It's not like the safeties were playing far back. Like, yes, we were in some too high, but for the most part, the safeties are coming down. So if we are kind of getting into like these cover 3, cover 9, and cover 6 coverages, they got to go back. They got to go back, and they trusted their speed on the outside with Dylan Bell and Arian Smith. They trusted that speed that they can take off the top, that they can take the top off vertically, and that's exactly what happened. Like, Dylan Bell was getting behind the defense. Arian Smith was getting behind the defense. And it was just a lot of one-on-one where Xavier Brown was getting killed. Like, he was getting murdered on the, it was not fair of what they were trying to do for him. So I think the one thing and the one adjustment that happened, and it literally happened at the last play of the game, was that instead of just looking at the receiver, if we're going to play this sort of coverage and we're still going to disguise, look at the quarterback, look at his eyes. And you can, that last play with Xavier Brown, he didn't look at the receiver. Kobe Young is like, what, 6? He's a big receiver, but he didn't look at Kobe Young. He looked right into the quarterback. And as soon as he was able to read the quarterback and where that ball was going to go, he was able to track the ball down and get the wonderful interception. Because Kobe Young wasn't even ready for the ball. Now, it wasn't the greatest pass in the world. I think Carson Beck should have threw it a little bit alongside the boundary instead of in front of the receiver. But Xavier Brown read that play to a point where the receiver wasn't even ready to even try to go for the pass. So that is something that I think that we can get better at, and that we're going to get better at. Is this secondary is going to do a much better job. Instead of just reading the receivers, they're going to start reading the quarterback, especially the outside corners, because Damani Jackson played great, but there were times. But again, Coach Sean can tell you this. What do we do more than any other team in the country? We rotate DBs. I don't know why we continuously do this every game now, but this is just, unfortunately for us guys, this is who we are. This is our identity. We're gonna rotate 3-4. We're gonna rotate 2-3 outside guys every single game. Like Jalen Mbakwe had a series of snaps they did do the game, and he made some plays. Like Jalen Mbakwe made some plays, but then Red Morgan came in for Devontae Smith because Devontae Smith was getting banged up. But Red Morgan, let's be honest here, guys. Even when Devontae Smith was healthy, how many times was Red Morgan getting in the game in the rotation when we were in competitive football games? A lot. He was gonna play a lot regardless if Devontae Smith was hurt or not. Now Keon Sapp had a terrible game. Like I can't tell you what happened with Keon Coleman. With Keon Sapp. Keon Sapp had a really terrible game. Malachi Moore had one of his best games that I think I've ever seen him play at, playing at that safety spot. But yeah, I agree with you, Ty. Like we sent a lot of pressure because I think that Kane Womack and not Kane Womack, I'm getting confused. I think that Mike Bobo and Carson Beck, they figured out. They just figured it out. They said, if you're gonna keep showing this crap, we'll isolate the receiver and we'll just take our chances. We're not gonna play around with this BS. And as soon as they caught on with that, we decided to try to send we decided to send a little bit more pressure. And so that's when we were running some true one, and it still wasn't really working. We tried to go back to what we were doing. It didn't really work because Carson Beck, he figured it out, and he was hot ever since. And so,
and the defense was tired.
They were exhausted. They were exhausted. And so like and here's the thing about this. If you know that your defense is exhausted, why are you still trying to show 0-1 by bringing the safeties down and bringing the corners down? And they have to run 15, 20 yards to get to their spot. They're exhausted. And you're going against receivers who are now hot. Like, these are fast receivers now. These are guys and they're stretching you out vertically. They're not running short intermediate routes. They're running second, third level type receiving concepts. They're going down the field on you. And these quarterbacks and safeties got to drop all the way back to see if they can get into their assignments. Like, what do we like? That's the one thing that pissed me off, was that if anything, it's like, okay, you know what? They caught on to what we're seeing. I would rather just show it. Like, instead of just disguising it, just show it. Because I would rather just like say, you know what? I would rather get these guys already in position compared to just them running 15, 20 yards down. That's what I would rather do. But
well, and to your point, man, whenever you're talking about disguising it, think back to the interception Malachi almost had. They showed single high, and then they went too high. And to your point, guys, Jance is calling this right on the head right now. Listen up. Georgia saw something before the snap, said, oh, they're one-on-one across the board, single high safety. Beck just said, I'm going to launch it that way. Well, by the time he launches it, he realized, oh no, it's not single high safety, it's double high safety, and Malachi is right there. I was surprised we didn't disguise too high a little bit more in the second half.
That's what I wanted, Ty. That's why I thought we were going to, like, if anything, just disguise you too high. But instead, I think, in a way, I thought we got a little too cute. I thought we got a little
bit of the field. Yep.
A little bit too overconfident of saying, okay, this was working in the first half. We're going to keep showing him different looks so we can throw Carson Beck off. And instead of just kind of simplifying, like we didn't. This is the one thing, man. I can't believe I'm even saying this. I can't believe I'm even using this joker's name, but I got to do it. It was Pete Goldish. It was Pete Goldish, where we decided to overcomplicate things, and because this is not easy to learn. This is a complicated things to learn. Of keep showing you different, like this. That's not easy to do. But we kept overcomplicating things instead of simplifying what probably should work. And we got too cute, too antsy, and that's what happened.
Brinsky, as I pass it to you, this is a safe space, Darius, but my brother in Christ, if Bama doesn't take their foot off the gas and Bama keeps going offensively, they probably hang 55 to 60 points on you. Easy.
Your own coach said it.
And this is why I wanted to blow. This is why I was not happy with that win for this reason. Because all of a sudden now we gave Georgia fans hope instead of just destroying it. Like, what was going on?
Well, you saw the SEC shorts, right? Did you see the SEC shorts today? Hope came up and yelled all this stuff, and then she walked away right before the end of the game.
Like, man. Like I had Georgia fans coming to my Georgia fans telling me, man, we're going to go 7-5, 8-4. Like you had these fan reactions. Everybody just lost hope.
Darius told me Beck was better than Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, well, that's the second game in a row, man. He's been outplayed. So
Stop it.
He's been
Even
outplayed.
the NFL guys were talking about that. Stop it.
Hey, Nino, friend of the show, Texas fan, was even on Bleacher Report being like, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. And I don't think Beck's a bad quarterback. That's not my point here. I think Beck's a solid quarterback. But I've never understood this whole, like, he's going to be the first quarterback off the board. I'm like, based off what? I don't. Like, I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. There's a few quarterbacks I'd take before I got to Beck.
The reason why people are going to go with Carson Beck is because he's the best pro style quarterback, and Quinn Ewers has a superior arm talent.
He just can't stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy, and Sarkisian doesn't require his quarterbacks to read the entire field. He just doesn't. Carson Beck can read Carson Beck can go through progression 1, 2, 3, 4, even he can go through everything very, very smoothly. Now his arm is not the greatest. His ball placement, I think, is really, really solid. But I think the thing about even though that you can go through your progressions and you can read, at the same time, Carson Beck makes a lot of he gets confused too easily, and it's something that you can clean up because Cam Ward, Cam Ward threw picks. Why? Because Virginia Tech disguised their coverages. They disguised it twice on both picks. Where he thought they were in man, corner drop back in zone or the safety drop back in zone, boom, was a pick. That's where both those interceptions came from. So it's not easy to do, but one thing I will give Carson Beck a lot of credit for, that dude can process and he can go through all four. He can read. He's a full read quarterback instead of a half read guy. which that's what NFL scouts. We're trying to go back to that. NFL scouts are trying to go back to doing that. But the problem is that Jaden Daniels wasn't a 4-read quarterback, wasn't a 4-read guy. Caleb Williams was, but a lot of the time it was because the play was already broken down, so we kind of had no choice but to go through it. But literally in phase, he's going through 4 reads, But as you saw in the Bama game, a lot of the times how easily, I mean, he can get easily confused, and he'll make a lot of just crucial and just dumb mistakes under duress.
You're right, Daniel. It is no bueno. And one thing I will say in defense of Bama's defense, don't get me wrong, Daniel, I agree with you. And what I'm about to say is not to excuse it, but a lot of those were 4th and 1.
Yep. Shador is pro. I'm sorry about that. I forgot about Shador. Shador is also
Shador.
a guy. I forgot about that.
And that's a bad boy. Listen,
and
I don't care.
Throwing over the middle. He's better in the intermediate route. He can throw the deep route. Much more accurate. Any scout will tell you that, man.
And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't care how you feel about him or his dad in terms of I don't care if you like him or dislike him. That dude is a football player. That dude's a football player. Come on now. I don't care how you feel. The dude's a baller. He just is. But Daniel, like I said, you're 100% right. No bueno. That's got to get cleaned up. I think that the flip side of that is they had a lot of 4th and 1 or even 4th and less than 1. That's tough, right? That's just tough to stop. But got to stop it. Just read Pete Rose died. That's no good. Did y'all know something crazy? The actress, this month, it's been just crazy. The amount of people who are in the limelight who have passed. Mutombo passed away.
Yeah.
Pete Rose, rest in peace to Pete Rose. I'm a nerd, so the actress who played Professor McGonagall passed away September 27th. And so it's been a wild week.
I'm a real nerd, man. All my favorite mangaka artists have died, man. My boy Toriyama.
Yeah.
That sucked. That hit hard, man.
Brinsky, I wanted to pass you this one right here. K-Spray asks, should we be concerned about what happened second half against Georgia? I thought we'd come out and step on their neck.
Yeah. I'd say yes and no. We should be concerned only if it continues to be that way, if we start off that way. And that's the only reason why I say we should be concerned. But I think these guys will adjust. I think it was just one of those games that we just mismanaged everything. They're going to go back and review the tape. So we're going to see how they adjust to bigger games in the future based on how we play. So, yeah, I think we're good. But the only thing that I just kept saying it, and I knew it was going to come one of these games, our secondary was just going to have to just fight one out, because I was like, man, we just so young. They just kept attacking it. But I guess they just Mel Kiper, we got to get out of 2 high safeties. And they just didn't believe it for the second half. I felt like we could have stopped a lot of that bleeding by doing that, and also trying to run the ball a lot more, trying to kill the clock, stop trying to do this hurry-up offense in the second half, which we just seen our defense go on these 12 to 13 to 14 to 15-yard drives, and we seen that it kill them. Then they just start killing us on 2 to 3 play drives, but they were big play drives, and you could tell our defense was tired because they just kept coming out there. You could tell they weren't having that same explosion. We kept one of the craziest stats that Carson Beck just kept going. I think it was 5 for 5 on 4th down.
Yep.
Even though
they ran the same play 3 times.
Yep.
The exact same play.
Even though I think one of them that Kellen DeBoer, I wish he didn't call a timeout, because if he did, They had him in the backfield. It was like 3 guys around. That was going to be a stop on
And
one.
LT missed the tackle on ETN on the other one.
My God, I don't know how he missed that one. I really don't understand.
Good move by ETN. ETN put his foot in the ground, and he earned that NIL money there.
Yeah. So, and also, I will give him a little bit of credit because the refs did help them out on a few of those 4th down plays. So it technically didn't count as 4th down. So, and then they gave them the 1st down. I was just like, oh my God, y'all giving them this call, but we can't get the call right before the half when he pretty much got about to choke our receiver out. So, man, it was a little bit of everything, but thank God Xavier Brown already had his head turned, pitted off, and ended the game. That's what I said. A lot of these guys had to grow up. I'm glad that they experienced this way before we had to play Nico, because I feel like Nico going to be one really.
He's a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I gotta take, man. I don't think Nico's gonna do the exact same. I don't think Nico's Carson Beck. And the reason why I say that is because even though Nico's a superior arm talent, Nico can't read the fit. He can't not yet at least go read for go full read. He cannot do that yet. Not yet. Mm-hmm. And so again, as a first year starter, the one positive that I can take away was the amount of coverage, the amount of coverages that we were disguising, the amount of looks that we were showing them. And then when it's something else, if we can confuse Carson Beck, who, as a college quarterback has been really, really good, especially in that pro style system, I can't imagine what we can do with Nico because again, Kirby Smart, that staff, that's an all-star coaching staff, they haven't seen what that defense can do. They didn't even know that the defense was capable of showing them that. Tennessee's going to have some film now, but that is something I can guarantee you that their coaching staff, Josh Heupel and those guys, they're going to be worried about it. Because if they can't establish a run game, what's plan B? You're going to have to throw the football. And they can spread you out they can spread you out all the way to outside to the boundary. And they can stretch you out vertically, because I do think Tennessee's receivers are better than Bama, are better than Georgia's. I think they're better, but what's going to happen? Are they just going to run a lot of verticals and just say, you know what, test out, take one, you see a one-on-one shot, take it, or can we confuse Nico? This is going to be a game where we're going to really test his intelligence. We're going to really test him. And so I'm actually a little bit more excited for that game, because I don't think Nico, if they win that game, it's not going to be, Nico's going to make some big time throws, but it's not going to be a game where I think he's going to throw for 300 or 400 yards. It would be that he'll throw for barely 200, and they'll run the football effectively and efficiently on us. They'll just control the clock. I don't think that you want to get into a game where it's a shootout, because we found out that Bama's offense can put 30 points on anybody.
I 40 points on everybody so far this year.
Yes, they put up 40 points on everybody. Like, you're not going to shut down. And no disrespect to all the Oklahoma fans in the comment section, but we're not Oklahoma. Like, we're not Oklahoma. We are a much more advanced offense. We have much more firepower offensively, and I think the fact that we actually do have experience of going against a really good front, because I don't think Tennessee's front seven is better than Georgia's. Because Tennessee hasn't played an offense that was even capable of stretching them down vertically. Like, Tennessee's secondary is young. Like, pretty much a majority of those guys had been replaced. And last year, their secondary was trash. But the reason why they've been playing so damn good was because their front seven has just they've dominated the line of scrimmage. Bama's offensive, this will be the first offensive line, truly, that has really good personnel on that offensive line. And I don't think that we're gonna rush for 200 or 300 yards against them, but I do expect Jam Miller and Justice Haynes to have a much better game. I just do, because you're gonna have to do that, because again, that second half came. What did Georgia do? And shout out to my boy Lexon, because he pointed this out. They just had two spies, had the safety down, and they were primarily in zone. That's why we couldn't get to the outside edge. That's why when we tried to run a lot of counter and quarterback sweeps or zone reads, why that wasn't even working efficiently. Because Georgia became more disciplined. They decided to say, freak it, two spies, bring the safety down. Something that South Florida did, by the way. So I expect that Tennessee will mark that they won't even play around with that. I'm actually kind of shocked Georgia didn't do that from the start. But that's the adjustment they made. Tennessee won't they won't play around with that at all. They'll make sure that they'll have a spy or two on him, and if not, they'll bring kind of the safety down to kind of help with that. But for the most part, like no, like that's a game where I'm expecting Tennessee's defensive line and their front seven to get tested because they haven't been tested yet, and I expect Nico to have been tested because, quite frankly, I think the only defense that has tested him is Oklahoma. But even Oklahoma wasn't. I mean, Oklahoma was just showing like they showed it and then they just ran it. They didn't disguise it like the volume that we do. So this is going to be a game where I think that we're going to test Nico and to see if he can really get past us. And we're going to be testing his football IQ in this game.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
The one thing I think that none of us really said about that Georgia game that was really shocking to me just to watch him play, and I think he's one of the top players in the country, is Malachi Starks. I have never seen him play that bad of a game, ever. And I felt like he played, like he missed a lot of tackles, reading coverage wrong in a lot of plays. I just felt like he just had an overall bad game. For his standards, I always expect him to be excellent, and I don't think he lived up to his expectations for that game.
I think that's because this offense, that first half, Brinsky, Coach, and I were texting back and forth, is like watching Picasso paint.
Yeah.
Outside of, and like I said, even though I'm not mad at the Kendrick Law attempted pass, because, hey, that is a play where Starks played that like an NFL player. He read that.
Yeah, that one play.
He read that. I think that coaching staff was like, oh, this is the Mike Tyson knockout blow.
Let me say this, Ty, when you get done.
Go ahead. Oh, well, what I was going to say is I think that first half, part of that, Brinsky, is because this Bama staff had schemed up something. Georgia's defense didn't know what the hell was happening. And that's why I was so in the second half. And Coach Sean, I'm interested in your take on this. In case, Spray, to answer your question, I'm not concerned about it because in the earlier games, it was the first half where we were very base. And then the second half, we came out with flair. This game, it was the opposite. So it hasn't been a trend, and this is a brand new offense and defense that's being rolled out. So I'm not concerned unless it happens again. But Coach Sean, before I kind of want you to touch on this too, and then your take on what you wanted to say. If we were still going to run tempo, why are we not doing the pre-snap motion anymore? Like if we're still going to be that same Bama offense from the first half where we're going fast, go fast to cut the head off the snake. Like go fast to say kill him. Like Brian, kill everybody. We're taking your soul. We're going to put up 100 if we can. Don't go fast to be in base. Like I don't know. What's your thoughts?
That's exactly where I was going. You know, I'm a little different, and Coach Jay can probably tell you better than anybody. He know I'm a pessimist by nature, bro. You know, it just suits me better to be a pessimist than happy-go-lucky, right? So like I end up feeling better because I always get proved wrong. I am a little concerned. I am, man. As an offensive guy, I am concerned, man. And I get it. It's just that one game. But what concerns me is once I'll say Coach Sheridan. Once Coach Sheridan found out that they couldn't attack the edges constantly anymore, it's like he didn't know what to do. It's almost like he was just calling plays to call them, right? None of the stuff he ran made any sense. It's almost like he did. What did Kentucky do? Kentucky had the perfect plan. Kentucky was attacking them on the outside with Barry and Brett, doing all these horizontal stretches. Once Georgia adjusted, they just started pounding up at the middle. They just started pounding the rock. They weren't getting huge gains or anything, but they were in the game, so Georgia adjusted again. Georgia, they was getting 5 yards, 4 yards, 6 yards, dump off pass, 5 yards, quarterback keeper with Vandergrift, 4 yards. Georgia adjusted again. We never even tried to do that. We just started running Jalen Miro, and some of those quarterback sneaks were so lazy. You'd have thought it was a quarterback sneak to line the damn field goal up. You know how they run the quarterback sneak just didn't fall down? It was just so lazy. I was like, what in the hell are we going through? Now, I will say this. It is very difficult, I know personally, to play when you got that big of a lead. It's just your whole game just changed, man. It's hard to attack when you got a 30-point lead. It just is. It's just very difficult. But I did not like the fact that when we came out and they had some success stopping us, we act like we didn't know what to do. We act like we didn't know what to do. And I'm just speaking strictly for the offense, right? It's like you could see them getting frustrated with one another. You can see them on the sideline getting frustrated. The play calls. I remember one series we ran a quarterback sneak. We ran a quick little pass to Justice or somebody, and then we ran Justice one time. It's like I did not understand. We kept trying to test the edges. We kept running out of bounds. So that told me that the offensive coordinator was just calling stuff to be calling. It's like he kind of lost control. We call it losing control of where he was at on the offense, man. And all you were doing was going 3 and out, letting Georgia catch momentum. Once Georgia got momentum, they get back on the field, it's over with. And the thing I would tell anybody is, for me, it is a concern because 30 points is a lot, bro. To be ahead that much is a lot. And to let a team come all the way back, that's not good, bro. To me. I know it's just one game, but you have to understand how far ahead of this team we were. And they came back and took that is awful, bro. Awful. And no matter how you want to slice it up. And we get it. We get it. The defense was tired. I don't put that on the defense, man, because these guys played way too many snaps. But I'll say this to any Georgia fan looking at it as a moral victory. Coach DeBoer and his staff outcoached your team hella bad in the first half. If we hadn't got conservative, everybody can if, right? Everybody can if. If we hadn't got conservative and just stayed in attack mode, even if they could protect the edges more, make them attack, we call it taking what they give us. Take what they give you, man. Right? Everything don't have to be a deep shot to Ryan. Take what they give you. Let Justice get 10 carries, 15 carries. Let Jam get 10 or 15 carries. Even if it's 3 yards, 2 yards, 6 yards, 2 yards, back to 1 yard, then 7 yards. I'm cool with that. Right? That takes time off the clock. It beats the defensive front up, and it lets your offensive linemen rest. They can rest better run blocking than they can pass blocking. They'll all tell you that. Everybody can if, man. Your team looked off for the first half, right? And to be completely honest with you, I'm just totally different. I don't take nothing from Carson Beck, right? But he didn't do nothing special to me. You attacked one corner. We played a basic ass coverage that you threw on, and you completed a few passes on. I personally think he didn't play very well, if you ask me. Even the second half, you
had a
take away those
54% completion percentage.
yeah, you take away those deep shots. Okay, you hit a young corner, right? You did what anybody's supposed to. You did the same thing that South Florida tried to do, but you just were able to be successful. We all said in the beginning, this quarterback will be a little more successful because he's more accurate. I don't take none from Carson, but I don't think he just done, well, Carson Beck done it. No, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You made your adjustments. We just didn't make ours. We just didn't make ours, right? You lost the game, brother. You lost the game, and you didn't lose by luck. You got your ass whipped, right? That's a straight up fact. We got our ass whipped the second half. And what Coach Jay was saying, I get that and I agree 1,000%. But what I would be concerned with if it was Nico is I would be concerned with the spacing that Tennessee does. I would be concerned with getting, whether Xavier plays the boundary of the field. I don't remember which side he play on. I would be concerned with getting that kid in spacing and the up-tempo style, not letting us. Georgia was giving us time to reset. Georgia was giving us time to sub Jalen Mbakwe in. It would make me nervous with Nico because I don't think you really got to be super talented just to throw it downfield, and that he can do, right? I would be concerned with their tempo. I would be concerned because they can't run the ball, and I would be concerned because their tempo would not let us adjust like we need to adjust. They get you in one defense and they just keep running that thing, and you just got to play the ball. So that would concern me, at this stage. I know we don't play them until slightly a little bit later, a couple more weeks, but we definitely need to get that fixed, man, because they're going to pick on Xavier for the rest of the season. They're going to pick on him for the rest of the season. Even if you have a good game, if I played Bama this week, I would definitely go at Xavier and Brown. I would definitely go at him. He got to know that. There's no disrespect to the young man. He played well for a freshman. He made the play when it was just to do. But just football jargon, we have to go at you. We have to. We have to find something to go at. I would love to get Keon Sabb in one-on-one coverage, right? Keon is a physical guy coming downhill, but if you can get him in one-on-one and get him covering by himself, He tends to overplay leverage a lot, and he get beat a lot. And every tackle don't have to be a knockout tackle. Just wrap up and make the tackle, bro. You don't have to knock them out every time because you missed a lot of tackles doing that. These kids today kill me with the throw the shoulder into somebody. I don't know what that's about. What happened to putting your hat on and wrapping up? What happened to that? I just don't. I think that's a lost art. But everybody can if. Everybody can if. I watched Texas a couple of games against them again from their games, and I'll say this really quickly. Texas is a great team, but I've seen some things that I didn't see in the first couple of games they play. I think Georgia going to beat Texas. I do. I don't think Texas is going to be able. Texas is great for what they do. I can't take none. They're playing just as well as anybody in the country. But I think Georgia's going to pose some threats to them on the offensive side of the ball up front. I really do. I think Georgia's going to beat Texas. Just me on the road. Georgia is very, very physical. Their halftime adjustments is impeccable. Their defensive front is aggressive as I've seen. Right. They got a lot of talent on their defense, man, and just run these little read option plays and these option routes. You're going to do more than that to beat them. You know what I mean? And I just really believe we helped Georgia in the second half, but I give credit what credit's due.
Yeah, the only thing, Coach, why I say I'm ultimately not concerned is when I look at this, in my mind, if they don't go that conservative, it's just going to be, your phrase, belt to ass, like again and again and again. And I would be concerned if against Wisconsin, it was that they came out in the first half showing all the flair, then got conservative in the second half. But with Wisconsin, it was the exact opposite. So that's probably the only caveat. Now, I will say this, Coach, if it happens next week against Vanderbilt, where we come out, start kicking their tails, and then in the second half lose all, that's where I'm going to be like, okay. But here's my ultimate thought on this. There is something to be said, at least from my point of view, whenever you can win a game against a top 5 team like Georgia, and then you go to the coaching board and players and coaches alike have a list of things that they can do better. I think that could be a real positive for this team. I think that might be more positive than if you beat the hell out of a Georgia and then you go thinking, oh, well, we're a finished product. I don't think there's any way, no coach on that team should look at Alabama right now and say we're a finished product. I think that the fact of like, hey, we got a lot to work on. And you did see, I don't know if you saw it, Coach, they had Womack with his dad after the game. Did you see what he said?
I did not.
So Womack and his dad were standing there. Dave Womack's on the field with Kane, and Kane's looking up at the stadium. And I don't know what his dad said to him, but Kane said, no, we need to get better and we will get better. Something to that effect. Like, that to me is encouraging that the coaches understood, okay, we kind of dropped the ball here. We almost got our asses handed to us. We need to fix these things. Did you also see what they put around Mal Moore?
I didn't. What happened?
They've put rat traps around Mal Moore, like in the hallways.
Really?
They've put rat traps everywhere.
Rat poison.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, when I saw that, Coach, that's when I was kind of, and I know this sounds weird, but like, that's when I was like, okay, they know. They're clicked on that, like, this game is meaningless. We're 0-0, and now it's time for Vandy, who, by the way, listen, I think we're going to beat Vandy. But Diego Pavia, I can assure you all of one thing. The cat won't be scared of Alabama. Why?
No, they're not a bad team, man.
Well, he's not scared of anything. That cat's crazy. He tried to fight Auburn like, that dude is actually crazy, and I love it. I love it.
And just to clarify, when I say it do worry me, I'm speaking strictly to schematics. I didn't like a lot of the stuff we done in the second half. It's something that I recognize you do when you just calling it. You don't, you have no rhyme or reason. That just the schematic approach that does bother me some.
I just like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? Because again, South Florida did it, and we didn't, and we really didn't adjust to it until like the last 5 minutes of the game. And now here we go with this situation where Georgia, all they did, which is they just brought an extra spy. They brought 2
linebackers.
Brought the safety down. They were just in zone. They didn't do too much. They were just in zone. And
that's my whole point.
so, I mean, what like if Tennessee does that, which has a very, I think has an equal front compared to Georgia, if they do that, like are you telling me that you have no answer for the run game? At least, like you can't trust your guards and Booker and Parker Brailsford and Roberts. You can't trust them to kind of move the pile.
Yeah, in a game like that, to me, in a game like that, second half is no excuse for Jalen Miro to have more carries than Jam and Justice. It's just
I don't know about that.
That sets up perfectly to use your backs, use your talent, man.
Richard Young, Daniel Hill, no one. You're telling me that nobody can't run the ball downhill? You can't trust them?
It's a fact. It's a whole fact.
Now, do you think that this would then open up another question, but do you think that the plays where like you had the first down and then the running backs tried to almost dance and didn't get it, that they were just like, all right, let's roll with Miro? The only thing I can think is that, and combined with when you look at the grades for the offensive line, pass blocking was genuinely bad. Or no, I'm sorry. Run blocking was genuinely bad. Like concerningly bad. Let me pull up these grades. That's where I was like, oh boy.
It became bad in the second half.
And it was that one play when that bothered me the most. When Justice Haynes got that quick pass out the backfield when it was third and 3. All he had to do was get the first down, the drive keep going, but he just stopped right at the one after he got hit. And I don't know what was going on. Like, keep the drive going.
All our successful run plays, Brensky, was when we were just running off to the edge.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Justice Haynes, his biggest run off the edge. Jam Miller was supposed to go inside, but he decided to cut to the outside.
Yeah, like, he had that one too.
And I'm like, what? So that's what I'm saying. Like half of it, I can't see. Look, of course, we got to put some blame on the offensive line. Now again, it's Georgia. We all know what they're going to focus on stopping the run primarily, especially in the interior. We all know that. But the holes were there. They were open.
Yes, sir.
Or not for big 20, like 15, 20-yard gains, but like 3-4 yards intervals.
4 yard. Yep.
And they just wanted us, they wanted to go for the big play to the outside. And Georgia just said, okay, this is what they want to do. We're just going to close it. The holes were there in the second half. They chose not to go through it. Or read it, or read their blocks. They just decide, okay, I read the block. I don't like it. Boom, outside.
Yeah, to keep running quarterback sneak right and left, to me, that was concerning to me. That's something you call when you don't know what. We always used to say on the offense side, when we argue about what to call, we always had one or two plays that was called our X factor play. Let's just run that. That's when we couldn't agree on nothing. Let's just run that because it always seemed to work. That seemed like some of that to me because it's like, why the hell do they keep running Jalen on the edges? They clearly are not going to let us get to the edges. Jalen ended up running out of bounds. That bothered me because it makes me feel like if we're in a game of that nature, we sort of either Coach DeBoer is one step ahead of Sheridan, or Sheridan is one step ahead of Coach DeBoer. It just make me feel like we don't know what to call in those situations. And that bothered me a little bit, man, because you're supposed to step on a team when you got them 30 to nothing. I know it's Georgia, but this ain't 21 to 6. When you got them 30 to 7, I think it was, and you let them come all the way back, man, because your offense keep going, punting 4 and 5 times, that just is bad to me. You know, I get it. It's just one game, but it was several things I didn't like about that, man. You know, we it's almost like we didn't trust our offense. Like Coach Jay was saying, we didn't trust, you know,
I don't think they trusted the offensive line because I just looked at the grades.
Yeah.
That
had to be it, man. Horizontal stretches are great when they're working, right? Horizontal stretches, that's great when it's working, but when they adjust and they start playing, you putting a lot of resources on the outside, making sure you don't beat them to the edge. You got to have something different in your gun holster. You got to have something different.
To put it into perspective, our highest graded run blocker were wide receivers.
Wow.
Like that's what I'm saying. It wasn't. That's something that does have to get cleaned up because we have so
Yeah.
many talented running backs to not run the
Yes.
football. And you want to talk about how to make Jalen more dangerous? Have a competent running game outside of Jalen, and now a defense is in hell. They don't know what's happening. Let me hit these
Facts.
donations real fast. Ephraim with the $2 saying, Georgia fans, why can't they recruit a Ryan Williams or Miro?
They don't want to do it. That's because for the most part, yeah, like they rely on metrics. Like for the most part, when they're recruiting receivers, they rely on their metrics. Like look at the top, like look at the McConkeys, look at the goodness gracious, he played with the Colts now. What's his name, man? He 80 Mitchell. Like you look at the 80 Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like these weren't 5-star or 4-star players. These were 3-star players. These were 2-star players. Like look at a Dylan Bell, a Humphreys, Arian Smith was a 4-star, but it's all metrics. Like there are certain positions where they will go all in, but like Georgia recruits differently compared to Georgia recruits differently compared to how we do. Like they'll bring kids in, they'll work out, they'll test their character. And for the most, they'll test out characters, and there's other things that kind of goes into it. But
remember, gents, they got to be able to hit the high score on Need for Speed.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. But they rely heavily on testing. Like Georgia, they rely heavily on testing, and so they think that a 2 or 3-star player in 2 or 3 years may end up being a 5-star. And to their credit, I mean, like I said, McConkey was a 2nd-round pick, probably should have been a 1st-rounder. 80 Bishop was a 2nd-round pick, should have been a 1st-rounder. But there are certain positions where they just focus heavily on, where they put all their chips in, and then there are other positions where it's like we're not going to go too hard on. We will look for certain things on players that no one else is gonna, that no one else will test out and that they'll see. So that's I mean Kirby Smart compared to Nick Saban are different. They're a little bit different in that sense. And and I would say for every school, like every school is different in terms of what they want to have. Like, it's not like college football 25 where you're gonna offer every single 5-star, because not every single 5-star fits your program. But no, they don't. They don't have a Ryan Williams. They don't have they don't have him for Ohio State. A Jeremiah Smith. They don't have a Jeremiah Smith. Hell, they don't even have the captain. The true freshman for Clemson. I mean, that dude is a beast. No one talks about him, but that dude's a monster as well. But Georgia has a top 5 class, but you talk to a lot of Georgia fans, they think that like this is one of their best classes, right? Because they got the guys that they wanted to get. And Georgia primarily focuses on the interior. They primarily focus on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They focus on linebacker play. If they're going to get true freshmen, if they're going to get true freshmen that are going to play, it's going to be safeties, not their corners. It's going to be their safeties, because that's the only kind of spot where it's kind of one of the easier positions to kind of coach and teach. Offensive line wise, this is why you don't when was the last time you saw a true freshman play offensive tackle or offensive guard or center for Georgia? You don't see it. Like they're mostly redshirt players. So
did Mims crack it? No, he was redshirt, wasn't he?
Yep, he didn't play first year.
Yeah,
they don't it's a lot of look at Georgia's offensive line chart right now. What do you see? Redshirt juniors and seniors. A lot of those dudes are back.
You can do it. That's great.
Yeah. Georgia just has a different philosophy compared to us. Not to mention too, we are in NIL now, and they're not going to spend they're not going to spend a crap ton of money like Ohio State did with Jeremiah Smith, and that's not a con to Ohio State. And Ohio State has one of the biggest NIL collectives ever in terms of just the overall kind of, they got power boosters. They got guys that got banked. Texas got guys that got banked. Now Bama, we don't. I mean, we're in the same boat as Georgia. We make it work somehow, but it's that's why I even say like it's amazing that we even landed a Ryan Williams even the first time, right? Because even though Nick Saban was here, like nowadays in the NIL, like do you know how much money Coach Sean knows? You know how much money 3-stars are getting paid a month?
It's a fact.
Like they're getting paid thousands of dollars a month. Like it's so you can imagine the value, what's going on with 4-stars and 5-stars monthly. And so it's even amazing that we even got a Ryan Williams, man. But yeah, like this NIL thing, man. Like they're not banking on getting 5 and 4. Like they're not banking on getting 5-star receivers. If they're going to collect their money, they're going to do it in positions where they normally target and develop for them
defensive
to play.
line.
Right, exactly.
And I will say this too, Coach Jay, really quickly. I do give Coach Sheridan and Coach DeBoer a lot of credit really quickly, because when I watch Jalen Miro now, man, they've actually found out that empty sets, when you go empty, Jalen can operate very, very well. Trips to one side, naked tight end on the other side by himself. Anytime you see trips to one side of the field, whether it's to the boundary or to the field, having the tight end on the side by himself, that's called naked, right? That man can operate, man. He can operate. He understands progressions now. I see him when he has time going through them, right? He's patient, right? And if you look, Coach Jay, it looked like it's a lot of West Coast concepts, a lot of stick routes, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. I seen a lot of time they run a little stick, little simple stick, smash right out of the backfield, which is a wheel route that goes toward the sideline. So a lot of West Coast stuff, man. A lot of West Coast stuff. And I really do believe, I love the fact that Jalen Milroe is showing. You see when they ran that, they brought motion from the boundary with Jam. Jam hesitated, and when he hesitated, the defender stopped. Then he take off running again. That hesitation move was just to make the defender stop, and the defender couldn't get over there fast enough. Jalen put it right in the perfect spot. The
What a
defender's back
pass.
was still turned. Yeah. So those are the things. If you go back to last year, we used to call for those kind of things. We never ran those things last year, man. Never, never, ever, ever. So I really appreciate the progression that this kid is taking, the West Coast principle concepts they've implemented, things like that, man, has really, really, really made this kid's game go above and beyond. I just want the offense as a whole and the play calling to match the progression and the improvement that Jalen Miro has made.
Well, Coach, to your point, 81.8% completion percentage against Georgia. For those of you wondering, is he the quarterback? Unequivocally, yes. He had an unbelievable game. People wanted to see the intermediate. Coach, he was like 6 for 9 or 5 for 9 on the intermediate. And one of those throws, it was low. I grant you that. But it went right through Jeremy Bernard's hands. And that was interesting because Bernard has been pretty damn automatic this year. You get him the ball, he's a dog. He wants to attack the ball and then attack everybody around him, right? Like, I'm a big fan of his game. Big fan. Jalen is playing unbelievable football. He's had a lot of great performances in his Alabama career, but given the opponent, given how he operated the offense, I think that was his best. Coach, that one where Bernard was streaking across the middle and he hit him on about a 15 to 19 yard pass. I mean, Bernard's sprinting and just does this right there. I mean, Milroe was operating unbelievable. And we said it earlier, not all interceptions are created the same. Did y'all hear Shannon Sharp talking? He and Ocho Cinco talking about Jalen Milroe's interception. They had a really interesting point where they said, yeah, Jalen Milroe didn't lead the tight end, but that was the right throw not to lead him. They were saying in that situation, the tight end needs to widen out because if not, he's going to get killed by the linebacker. And Jalen was trying to save him from getting blasted. That was a catchable ball, got popped in the air, intercepted. Unfortunate, that's not on Jalen Milroe. That's not. Want to hit this comment right quick. Alan Berry says, did it feel like Alabama didn't make adjustments in the second half? I think it's a combination of that, Alan. I don't think we made the right adjustments. And the adjustments we did made weren't to win the game. They were not to lose the game.
Yeah, best way to put it. Yeah.
Where I feel like both offensively and defensively, the adjustments they made were to go more base. I'll put it like this, Alan. To me, it was the difference. It was actually the inverse of what we saw versus Wisconsin, where Coach Sean and I were texting that first half of Wisconsin, and we were like, it just doesn't feel like we thought it would. Come the second half, like 3 drives in, we're texting each other, and we were like, here we are. this is the offense we expected.
Yeah.
It was the inverse of that, where it was like first half, it was like watching Pablo Picasso paint. Second half, it was almost like, okay, we've painted the masterpiece. Now let's not mess it up. Now we're just going to flutter around the edges. And so I don't think we adjusted well. And the ways we did adjust, it was not in a manner that was like how I would have liked. But then again, what do I know, right? But, you know, that anybody have anything to add on that? No. Okay. Well, Oklahoma's starting to look. They got to open up that offense, Terry. They got to open up that offense, and I get it. It's a new quarterback. They have got to just tell Hawkins, "Hey, if you throw an interception, so be it. Learn in the fire. We're not going to have it rattle our confidence in you, but we got to open this bad boy up." But he's got juice. I give you that. He's got juice. I'll tell you my biggest concern for OU, Terry. It's health. And I don't think Seth Luttrell, I want to be proven wrong. So let me put that up there. I want to be proven wrong. I don't think he's very good.
No, he's terrible.
It looks like the guy has no feel for the game of football at all. There was a play a few weeks ago where Gabe and Teddy actually highlighted it, where the blocking concepts they had employed made 0 sense for the play. And it's certain things he does, and I'm just sitting there like, why? It makes no sense. No sense at all. But maybe that's simply due to injury. I will give you that benefit of the doubt until given reason not to. We'll see. We'll see. The miscatch hurt me was thrown right in his hands. Yeah, it hurt me too. It hurt me too.
Me too. Shout out to Janet.
Shout out Janet.
Shout out to Patriot. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Patriot Life, Moon Rocker, Ephraim, Eric D, John in the chat. Everybody, man. Shout out to all of you for sure.
Hopefully y'all are doing well. What is that? Oh, I thought almost had a heart attack, guys. So for those of you that don't know, on StreamYard, if you scroll up after a while, there's like a little see-through thing where it can like you can press it and you'll go down to the bottom, the newest comments. And I'm sitting here wondering why there's a line halfway through Janet's comment, and I'm trying to see. I was like, oh, do I have a beard hair or something on the screen? No, it's not coming off. Then I thought I've cracked my laptop, and I was like, that's the last thing I need. It was just the box. This is what happens when you're stupid, ladies and gentlemen, right? You have stupid problems. There it is. Yeah, you're not. Go ahead.
When is the Red River Rivalry? When is it?
Not next week, but the week after.
Week after? Okay, cool.
Yeah, Oklahoma got to.
Texas will just kill you. It's going to play. It's going to be suffocating.
Who you got, Coach Jay? Who you got?
For now, I gotta take Texas because I don't know. I mean, now here's the thing: they could open up the offense because the good thing about what Ty is saying is that Oklahoma, they haven't shown you anything with Hawkins. They just haven't shown
exactly.
You so if there's any game for you to do it with like a week off, like that's the perfect opportunity for you to kind of just say, okay, we're just going to open everything up and let's just try to confuse this Texas defense by just showing him so many different looks. And
it's all brand new.
If they do that and start showing a bunch of brand new looks, but let's say Hawkins completes a couple passes that they just don't think he was capable of, that's going to throw Texas' initial game plan out the water. Because then they're just going to be like, okay, we didn't know he was capable of doing this, of let's just say being successful while throwing in the pocket. We all know he can run. We all know he's a good runner. But if he can throw from within the pocket, that throws game plan A out. And now you're going to have to go to game plan B, and now you're scrambling to see what works and what doesn't work. And then it's kind of like you're playing possum, where it's kind of like you're bluffing that you're really showing something, but you're gonna go back to what you've kind of been doing, which is going back to Hawkins' identity. So it's gonna be a tactical war, man. But I'm telling you, man, just if they're up 10-0 in this game, let's just say 10-0, Texas is gonna be in trouble. Because Oklahoma just needs a lead. They just need like a 2-possession lead. And if they get into a 2-possession lead, I don't know if Texas wins this football game. I don't know. But if Oklahoma, in order for them to win, they got to control the clock. Their defense cannot be on the field for a long period of time. They have to be fresh. And they gotta just capitalize on Texas mistakes, because they're prone to make mistakes. Texas is not carefree now. They're prone to making mistakes. You just got to capitalize on it. But if there's any game to kind of just like show everything that you got, this is the game. Like the Red River Rivalry is the game to do it.
What about you, Brinsky? Who you feeling? I'd like to know.
I got Texas, man. I don't think Oklahoma can stop them right now. I'm about to say, I don't think if they couldn't stop Nico, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Texas, especially with the quarterback that they have right now. I don't expect them to do anything right now. So it's just going to be an interesting game, and we're going to see how this goes, because I just don't see it.
Me, I just don't, man. I've been pulling for Oklahoma from the beginning of the season. The Tennessee game went the way we thought it was going to go. The defense is going to keep them. I just don't know if I see it. Now, if it's like Coach Jay say, and they've been doing like we done, saving a little, about 7, even if they've been saving about 4 to 8 plays, I just don't know if that's going to be enough, man. I think they got so many injuries. You know what I'm saying? I hope they get some people back before that game. I know it's only 2 weeks, but damn, I just don't know if Oklahoma's offense is going to be able to do enough. You know.
And that's how I just feel, man. I thought Jackson Arnold was going to take a bigger leap this year. I feel like if he was just decent this year, I believe they'll have an opportunity. But I believe that their offense is going to keep that defense out there way longer than it needs to be. Well, having them keep coming out there, and that's going to tire them out, and that's when Texas is going to attack them. Yeah, they probably start off good, but if Oklahoma offense don't show any signs of life, it's going to be over before the third quarter.
I think Texas offense is better than Tennessee's, and I just feel like.
I mean, I can't necessarily disagree it. And
I mean, I guess they're more to me. Texas can attack you in more ways than Tennessee can. I fear Texas offense and the sets that they line up in, and how Sark uses his offense more than I fear
Sark.
Yeah, I mean, I understand Josh is a great offensive guy, but Josh, they basically do one thing: they spread you out, they throw it all over, they screen you to death, and they run the ball. It's just what it is. Texas, man, will bring pre-snap motion. Texas just do a lot of different shifts and things and option routes, and they do a lot, bro. They do a lot, man. They run a lot of competent pass plays for whichever quarterback in there. It don't make a difference. And then Arch will kill you with his feet if you ain't careful. You know what I mean? He'll take off with that thing. He'll zone read and keep it, and go 60. So Oklahoma's going to have to find some offense, bro. The defense going to keep them in the game as usual. I just don't know if the little dude running around all the time is going to provide enough offense to keep up with. I just don't know, man. I just hope they find some offense. I really do.
They just got to let him pass. Right. Yeah. The problem last game, I think he was 10 for 16. And my thing is like, Seth, if you're not going to turn over the offense to him, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Now, granted, like I said, that's a little harsh. It was game 1 with him being the starter. First start is on the road in the SEC. The kid can play. Like, the kid is very talented. Michael Hawkins, he's got juice. He can throw the football now. He can do it, but he can take off on you and really hurt you. But
Texas, Oklahoma football pretty good, Ty. Do you think Jackson Arnold stays?
No.
He's gone. Ooh. Yeah. He's gone. No. He's out.
Because I'm not going to lie. I don't understand the way they handled Jackson Arnold in terms of, I understand the rumor mill is that there was, the Arnold wanted the RPO system. But coach, you played and coached the game. Jance, you've coached and played. At a certain point, there's that phrase of you got to save the kid from themselves. Yeah. If it's not working, I would have been like, okay, let's try something else from an offensive coordinator standpoint instead of RPO, because this isn't working. We're making the wrong reads. It's just not going well. Instead, they switched quarterbacks. Now, understand what I'm saying here. If you're an Oklahoma fan watching this, I'm not saying that I disagree with switching quarterbacks. I think it's clear right now Hawkins gives you more juice. I have zero qualms with that. I think the kid is very talented. Thought he was very talented in high school. I thought he was underrated in high school. I did. I thought that they kind of misdid his rating. That's neither here nor there. But from an offensive coordinator perspective, I'm like, okay, you can't let the players necessarily run the program, right? Like if your quarterback is like, hey, I like to do this, it's one thing if he likes to do this and is really good at it. Then it's like, okay, as a coach, we can do this. But if your quarterback says, okay, here's a great example. If your quarterback says that he wants to do nothing but 5 wide and read a defense, but he's also a member of the three blind mice, I don't care if that's what you like to do, buddy. We're going to have to do something else that you are more suited to. I don't know why they never did that. They just kept going with the RPO. And Hawkins, right? Like now they're changing the offense to kind of do some different things for Hawkins. And that's why I'm saying if you're Seth, just open it up. Open it up. Let the kid show you what he's got. But I don't think Jackson Arnold stays, Coach Sean, because here's the problem. At this point, he's got that kid breathing down his neck.
Yeah.
For the entirety, like not just neck, because he was already going to have to come back next year, right? He's only a sophomore this year. But because of how this year goes, he's going to have to. He's not going to be a 3-year player. You get what I mean? Like he's not going to get that grade. Well, Hawkins
what's their classifications?
Hawkins is a true freshman. Arnold's a sophomore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dead.
He's out. Janet has an interesting question. Arch Manning, over or underrated? He's not overrated, Janet.
See my answer right there. I am. I like Arch.
And he's in terms of at the same stage of their development. I'm not talking about right now because Quinn has been with Sark longer. I'm saying in the same stage of their development, Arch is further ahead in some of the little intangibles than was Quinn. Right? I think Quinn might have a more natural arm. And let me be, and I'm not saying Arch doesn't have a good arm. Arch has that's something that's definitely underrated with Arch. I think people thought that he was a smart quarterback with an arm. No, the kid's got an arm. Got an arm. He can make the throws. Quinn has an arm that was blessed by the football gods, right? Quinn will do this, and that ball is sailing 50 yards on a damn rope. I mean, his arm is different. But Arch, it's the intangibles, man. Like it's the little things. He has it down. So he's certainly not overrated. And Sports Masochist says underrated. If we're just saying over or under, I would say he's underrated. But you also have to understand, Masochist, and I know you were around. I made videos pushing back on the narrative that he would be a 3-star if his last name was Simpson or whatever, right? I was always like, hey, no, this kid's a 5-star. Now, in fairness, Sports Masochist, I did say he wasn't my favorite quarterback in that class. I'm just trying to keep myself as accountable as possible here. Nico was my favorite quarterback in that class, but I was always honest. He's a 5-star. How you rank that quarterback class, I don't particularly care. It was so talented, but the kid can ball. And Scott, I agree in terms of, yes, Gelato, I think you hit the nail right here. I think right now, Quinn gives them the best chance just because Quinn is so experienced. And this year, Quinn was playing really good football this year. Like, Quinn was being the Quinn that I thought he would be coming out of high school this year. His footwork was consistent. The deep ball accuracy was there. And then he gets hurt, which I hate to see. But I do believe in time, Arch will be the better prospect. I do agree with that. Yeah, no doubt, Janet. And as always, y'all know, you have questions, you ask them. Guys, before we get out of here, there is one more game I want to talk about. And Jance, you already know what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
So this weekend, gentlemen, Bama got a good win. But before the Bama game, Kentucky was making it to where that Georgia win over Kentucky, that's not a bad win anymore. And here on this channel, we never said it was a bad win. I do want that to be known. Everybody here on this panel never said that was a bad win. Kentucky just can't play offense. What are you going to do? But Jance, what the hell happened? That's the first time since, 1978? They've beat Ole Miss at home. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, Ole Miss made a lot of mistakes. They're an overrated football team. You see what happens when you don't play Delta Sigma Theta or Omega Psi Phi University.
Hey, my fraternity flag football team was respectable. Thank you very much.
This is what happens, man, when you actually play real competition. The first conference game they played, and they lost. When they actually go against a good defensive line. Kentucky has a very good defensive line, guys. They have a top 10 draft pick in Deion Walker on that football team, man, who just wrecked havoc the entirety of the game. But Kentucky, they have a really good defensive line, guys, and they even got a couple of Georgia guys like a Jamon Dumas Johnson, who was there. JJ Weaver, remember, JJ Weaver was one of those guys that I think he was one of the sack leaders of the SEC. He's there, and he was able to be productive. Kentucky has a very good front seven, man, that I think a lot of people are truly underestimating because it's just Kentucky. But no, I mean, Kentucky did the thing that Auburn should have been doing, which was control the clock, not do anything too fancy, run the football when they needed to kind of run the football. I thought Brock Vandagriff played it safe. He didn't put the ball too many times in harm's way. He took exactly what the defense gave him. Didn't do anything fancy, right? Brock Vandagriff is not going to be a first. He might not even be drafted. But Brock Vandagriff for this game did exactly what he was supposed to do, which was take care of the football, do their best to control the clock, and not put the ball in harm's way. And that's exactly what. And they had zero turnovers. Right? So you got to give a lot of credit, to Kentucky. Again, I think they were perfect on fourth down conversions, so they were a little bit more aggressive on the fourth down conversions. But for the most part, man, I mean, the story of the day, man, Ole Miss 9.7 yards per pass compared to the 15 yards per pass that Jackson Dart was averaging weeks prior. Again, when you go against a competent front seven, when you go against the secondary, that's not going to give too much. This is the result that you're absolutely going to get. Jackson Dart wasn't bad. He wasn't bad in any sense. If anything, I think that this was Lane Kiffin's worst game I think I've ever seen him call a game in a while. A lot of this game is on Lane Kiffin. But no, they just kept making a lot of mistakes in a lot of crucial situations. Kentucky was able to take advantage of those mistakes. And ultimately, at the end of the day, man, Ole Miss, who ended up missing a field goal, which ended up kind of resulting to costing this game. So I feel no sympathy for Ole Miss and Ole Miss fans. This is exactly what they deserve. A lot of people were saying, man, that Ole Miss was gonna make it to the SEC championship game and that they're gonna make the playoffs, which is still a possibility. Because Ole Miss, one thing that they're good at, they know how to win football games. But their first conference play against an actual solid defense, and they only score 17 points. That's just inexcusable. And Paul Feinbaum, he needs to offer an apology for saying that Ole Miss was going to be one of the top three teams in the SEC conference. So we all know that. I mean, guys, this is who Ole Miss are, man. You see, when you don't, when we talk about the spring games, man, with Joey Chestnut and the field day activities that they were doing, man, and dunking the basketball and the spring game, and just eating, having hot dog eating contests and riding their bikes and having, and I remember that joint, man. It was like a Tour de France with the players, what they were trying to do with the bicycles. See, this is what happens. Lane Kiffin on doing TikToks and doing TikTok trends. This is what Ole Miss is, man. This is exactly what they are. They're focused much more on social media gains instead of improving on a football team. But defensively, it wasn't their fault. Offensively, I don't blame Jackson Dart. This is on the coaching staff. This was on 100% pure coaching for Lane Kiffin, because he did not get his team prepared the most. He didn't get his team prepared. And because of this, you lost to Kentucky. You ended up losing to Kentucky. So this is a result that they're going to get. I think Kentucky will be fine. They'll win a lot of football games, but will they beat Georgia? Oh, hell no. Because the exact same case and situations that have plagued Ole Miss since Lane Kiffin's gotten there, those issues have not been resolved, and that's the offensive line. We kick their ass every time we play them, despite sometimes how bad of our defenses are. Why? Because we kill them on the line of scrimmage every time. Every time. Georgia kicks their ass on the line of scrimmage every single year, right? Like it South Carolina, Kentucky, like it happens, man, to Ole Miss. They have not fixed the offensive line issues. They fixed the defensive line issues. That's one thing I can say. I really do like their defensive line a lot. But in terms of their offensive line, nope, has not been fixed once a bit. And Jackson Dart continues to crumble under pressure. Again, he didn't cost them the game, but he didn't win them the game either. He continues to falter under duress. And this is just who Ole Miss are. They are the Penn State of the SEC conference.
Bro, you beat me to it. I was about to say Lane Kiffin is James Franklin who understands how to meme. That's the only difference, is one of them is good at Twitter and the other one isn't. But Lane Kiffin is James Franklin.
That is very spot on right there. They are the Penn State of the SEC. I like that.
Listen, from Lane Kiffin should be a coach. We just shouldn't be overrating him like Paul Feinbaum was, of saying that he's we all heard the offseason chatter, people saying that he was a top 10 coach in the country. What has he done?
What's his, okay, open question for the panel and chat. What's his biggest win to date at Ole Miss? Is it 2019 A&M? That'd be what I contend. What's his biggest win yet? I think 2019 A&M might be the answer. We're going back to 5 years.
I can't. He's not good against ranked opponents.
Oh, the record against ranked opponents is real bad. Here's the question I have for you. Do you want to know the game, what this reminded me of against Kentucky? Last year, ladies and gentlemen, Ole Miss plays Alabama, and everybody is talking about how, they can get them over. Ole Miss might be able to beat Alabama. Lane called a game that was so... I'm not even an Ole Miss fan, and I was frustrated for Ole Miss fans because it was obvious that he had something that he wanted to work. It wouldn't work, but instead of going away from it, he's like, no. At a certain point, it'll work, though. And we're in the fourth quarter, and they're not generating anything, and he's still like, no. One of these times it'll work. And sometimes it feels like he coaches more to prove that what he wants to work will work than to coach to win the game. And that's what this reminded me of. That's exactly what this reminded me of. Coach Sean, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I hear you. And I guess I agree, because your points are you can't even argue with them because they're so great. But I would say I could make that same case for Ryan Day. I could make that same case with Coach Saban before he got to LSU. What was his biggest win? I can make this same case for Dan Mullen, who had Mississippi State ranked, but what was his biggest win? Wasn't really no good wins. I think Lane is just Lane, if you know what I'm saying. Like, he just one of them young dudes who gonna be old and still act young. You know what I mean? I think if everything holds to what is going on right now, Ole Miss will win 8, 9, 10 games again. I think Lane either is going to have a huge raise at the end of the year or he's going to be at Florida. One of the two. I
I
really
think he'll
believe
be in
that.
Florida, Sean.
Yep, I
I'm
think so.
confident he'll be in Florida
Yep.
because like that loss. I mean, if Kentucky goes on a rampage and they start winning, let's just say they're ranked. I think that helps Ole Miss's case.
Yeah,
It does.
We are in a year because there's the conversation now that they should be 4 automatic SEC teams and 4 automatic big. We don't even need to have that. It's already happening now. Like we all know there's going to be 4 SEC teams going to get in. There's going to be 4 Big Ten. Like it's going to happen this year. But
honestly, Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas.
Exactly. And Tennessee and there's Ole Miss 9-3 sitting on the outside end because they can't win these games. And so, it's like with Lane Kiffin, it's kind of like, you know what? This is just not it. Like Ole Miss, this program is just never going to be a powerhouse it's never going to be a powerhouse. And it's only going to be a matter of time before Oklahoma gets their crap together and they start winning a lot of games.
Right.
Texas, I have to compete against A&M and Texas for NIL for NIL collectors. I got to compete against them every year. The transfer portal market, it's like gambling. It's like going to Vegas and gambling because you don't know if players are going to work out or not, and they're there for about a year or so and then they're gone. Like it's just, I don't think Lane Kiffin had. I think Ole Miss has given everything that Lane Kiffin wants compared to like let's say a Mike.
Yeah, facts. That's what I was trying to say. I think this is as good as it's gonna get at Ole Miss. I think if he goes to Florida, it's new blood. I think Florida will be invigorated. I think Lane's
but
the thing is so here's my only. I don't disagree, Coach. Like there's no confusing the brand that is Florida versus the brand that is Ole Miss, and very well received. But Florida, it's not even just Napier that's the problem. It's the entire athletic administration that's the problem. And so if they remain and they go to Lane Kiffin, here's another thing, Coach. Ole Miss NIL Collective isn't getting sued right now. Florida's is by a player. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, if y'all keep the same house but just get a new homeowner, the house is still rotting. Like, you got to do a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm probably hard on Lane Kiffin, Coach Sean, but do you want to know why?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what his record is against top 25 teams?
What is it?
Lane Kiffin is 4 wins to 23 losses against top 25 teams. That's why, like, I asked the question, what is his biggest win?
You know what? I don't know this for a fact, but I would be willing to bet you, even with that horrible record, he might be one of the most winningest coaches at Ole Miss. I bet
you're probably right. Yeah,
you're the most successful coach in Ole Miss.
He's done great at Ole Miss.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that yes, Florida, it got a little bit of that Miami administration going on. But I think Florida is just goofy enough to where they think if we get Lane in here, a fresh face, I bet you Lane with the agent he has, I bet you he would probably have those conversations before he took that job. And speaking on Lane really quickly, then I'm pass to my brother Ben Brinsky. Kentucky. Jay made a great point about Kentucky, man. The combination of winning the turnover battle, effectiveness in the red zone, converting 4th downs, proved to be the difference. Sloppy game, right? But Kentucky played what they did, what Kentucky do, right? They had a turnover. I mean, these guys were physical. This just goes to show you that physical football still works, right? Kentucky is nothing special. They got a few playmakers in Barry and Brown and the other kid. But they physical. Like Coach Jay was saying, these guys are physical in the trenches, right? Brock Vandegrift, he was serviceable, right? He was serviceable. But they were physical, man. And that physicality always beat up on their finesse. And hence 20-17 win. Brinsky, my bad.
Oh no, man, you good. I just think this probably Lane's last year in there. I think he's going to Florida. I don't know why I feel that way. I think him and Ladway would do some great things. That would be the only reason I think Jay Ladway stay in Florida. because I don't think Billy Napier is gonna survive down there.
Yeah, I
But
think that's already in the works, Brinsky. I think that's already in the works, I believe.
I believe that's going to be really, really dangerous to see him be down there because you can only go so far. But Ole Miss, Tommy Tuberville seen that. Hugh Freeze seen that. Like, yeah, you may get some recruits here and there. I think when Hugh Freeze got Laramie Tunsil, Laquan Treadwell, and Robert Kennedy,
yeah.
I think that was the best you was ever going to see Ole Miss recruiting.
Yeah.
It's just they don't call it Old Piss for nothing. But yeah,
Facts, man.
And just shout out to Trey Amos. It's not a shot at you, brother, but it's not always green on the other side. I think a lot of guys that left us is starting to see, like I said, Saturday night, man. They wish they stayed at Alabama. That humble pie is real, man.
Yep, they be having a lot more fun over here. That's a whole fact.
Hey, do you know that SpongeBob meme with Patrick and SpongeBob running outside and
Squidward
in the house? That's how a lot of them looking right now.
Yeah,
hey, just saying.
That's a fact. That's a fact, man. Shout out to Coach Al. And look, let me say this real quick. It's gotta hurt, even if you don't admit it. Even if you don't admit it. If all four of us was in the same recruiting class, Ty was a number one receiver, Brinsky number two, me and Jay was a third and fourth, right? I was a fourth, Jay was a third. We all best buddies. We tweet. Ty went to one school, I went to another, Jay went to another, and Brinsky went to another. All three of y'all balling. I can't even get a quarterback to throw me the damn ball right. They watching my man at Ohio State. They watching my man at Alabama, Ryan. They watching the kid at was it Tennessee? No, was it Tennessee? No, Texas.
Yeah, Ryan Wingo's a freaking monster as well.
Yeah. All these kids balling, and then you at Auburn, you pick to go to Yellowwood, and you're not the problem. Your coach and your situation is. That's why Coach Prime said, all y'all kids better look at the situation before you just grab the money and go. You better look at the situation before you grab the money and go. Because you might be facts. You might be stunting your own growth and you don't even know.
Don't talk to them like that. They just think Prime just be talking, but hey,
I know they don't know, bro. They don't know. It's
wake-up call. They getting that wake up call real quick. I believe if this continues, I don't see no light at the end of the tunnel for these guys. Because of course they got to play Georgia. They got to go to Missouri.
Guys,
Kentucky. I'm like, bro, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Cam may be out of there.
I gotta send y'all this meme right there. There was one that I saw that made me laugh so hard because do y'all remember the last time Georgia lost to Alabama? SEC championship game, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they play after that game?
Florida State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what happened?
They got.
We seen the beat.
Mad.
Yeah. The
annihilation.
They got destroyed. So I'm gonna send y'all this meme because who does Auburn play next?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Ooh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So this meme. Okay, I just sent it to y'all. It's this format right here. And it says the last time Georgia lost a heartbreaker to Alabama, they beat the next team. They played so bad it literally broke the program. And it's Mrs. Puff with Auburn on her forehead saying, "Oh, Neptune." Georgia's going to kill them.
Oh, they're going to destroy them. I know they pissed off.
It should be at Georgia too. Should be at Georgia.
Yeah.
It's their homecoming.
Oh man,
bro, they're gonna take out anger.
Whatever the over is, hit the over.
Yeah, hammer it. Hammer the over.
See,
Georgia
bro,
is going to annihilate them.
Me and Jay talked about this on the other show, bro. Listen, that meme you just sent, it really is some truth to that meme by breaking the program. This is where Norvell went wrong. And bro, you can deny it all day. You can say, "Oh, that ain't the thing." Hey, yes, it is. Yes, it is, bro. Listen, they did you wrong. You was undefeated. Your quarterback. If Jalen Miro, God forbid, get hurt right now, and it's the end of the season, I could understand why somebody would think we would, and then we struggle against two teams. I can understand why somebody say y'all not the same team as y'all was. I understand that. I get it. You won't get no fight from me, right? For you to have the opportunity to play what is a de facto playoff game. You ain't just playing Huckabuck University or State Pennsylvania. You're playing Georgia, a team that's arguably should be in this playoff too. You go beat them, you force everybody to be like, oh, wait a minute. You force the world to pay attention to you. But you know what you chose to do? I'm going to take my ball and go home. No, you deserve to be slapped to the Everglades for that, right? You chose to not show up. You know why you chose not to show up? Because you knew you was gonna
You
lose.
knew.
You knew we struggle with Louisville, we struggle with Georgia, gonna kill our asses. So rather than go play them and let everybody see us get killed, we'll just opt out, use that as an excuse, and we can actually have something to fight with later. We want you know you didn't want to play Georgia. If you had told your team to do the same thing Bryce Young and the same thing Will Anderson did, we ain't going out like that. Y'all pick TCU over us. Well, we gonna go slaughter the team that slaughtered TCU. And that's why, and that left everybody like, man, maybe we should have left Alabama in the damn playoff. Damn, right? No, you chose to I'm gonna opt out. I'm gonna opt out, right? And use that as an excuse. All you had to do was go play Georgia, beat Georgia, and then you forced the entire world coming into this season to pay attention to you. But you didn't. You went out like a witch. Take the W off and take the W off and add the B. You know what I'm saying? That's what you did. So I'm enjoying whatever they go through over there. Shout out to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth because it's in the details. That's the truth.
And Coach Sean, I'll even raise you this. If you would have told me that Jared Verse is opting out, he's their first rounder. Anybody that had a first round grade, I would have been like, nah, man, go get your money, because I watched what happened to Jalen Smith. And that really messed me up. Whenever that Notre Dame linebacker came back and listen, I have so much respect for it, for the love of the game, got hurt in the bowl game and wasn't a first rounder. That messed me up. So if you got a first round grade, by all means, man, sit out. I know Bryce Young didn't. I know Will Anderson didn't. And guess what? They both had first round grades, but I won't hold it against you, because that's yes, that's different money awaiting you. By all means. All means, you won't hear me say a peep. But the guys that got a third, fourth round grade, even the guys that got a second round grade, do you realize that if you go out there and have a game against Georgia, that second round grade turns to a first round grade because that's the best team you've played? Some people cost themselves money. And here's the flip side of that, gentlemen. Georgia didn't sit out.
Hell no, they wasn't sitting out.
So, and my camera chooses to freeze again. Damn it. But we had so many people when this game happened that came on here and they were like, but the game didn't mean anything. That's what. Then what did it meant something to Georgia. It meant something to Georgia. Georgia felt like they were disrespected. They came out and whooped ass. And guess what? That's why even after this game, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Kirby, because 99% of coaches would have laid down to Alabama after that first half. Really, the first quarter. Let's be honest, guys. 99% of coaches out there would have just said, maybe if we just start running the ball, they'll take their foot off of our neck and we can get out of here and focus on Auburn. Not Kirby. They fought like hell, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for that. But you go out there, and Eric says, why show up the game? It meant something to Georgia.
Facts. They had a point to prove. Yeah. Like you should have. If you say you deserve to be in it, you should be ecstatic to play Georgia. That's a de facto play-in game.
And that's a game that'll make you money if you show out.
And that's why I said that's why they put up 60 points, gave them boys a 60 piece wing special.
Yeah, Kirby did that on purpose. Kirby wanted to leave no doubt. Facts. You know,
Yeah.
Coach Al.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Coach Jay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach Jay.
I also will say this as well. If Florida State would have won that game, you had a legitimate claim for a national championship. You could have claimed it.
Facts. That's my point, Coach Jay. You
Yeah.
beat Georgia, everybody gonna listen to you then. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
True. No, he's right. Like, you still would have been memed, but like, if you would have been like throwing yourself a little parade, a lot of people would have been like, okay, listen, they did just, without Jordan Travis, they just beat Georgia.
You beat Georgia. If you beat Georgia and go on your UCF, we're the champs, I ain't even gonna be mad at you, bro. Because after you beat Georgia, I'm gonna probably be like, damn, they beat Georgia? Man, okay. You know, you're probably gonna have such enthusiasm from me. I'm probably not gonna say a word.
I wouldn't have said a word.
Right.
I wouldn't have said a word.
But for the great Western philosopher, Mr. Kanye West, I guess we'll never know.
Guess we'll never know. Facts. And that culture is seeping over right now. Look at you, like Chris Rock. Look at you now. Just look at you now.
No, you're right. You're right, and you can see it. You can see it. And I know everybody wants to blame DJU. Y'all know my take on this. If you're new here, or if you haven't been here in a while, I'll say this before we get out of here. This is on Norvell more so than it's on DJU. DJU is not a quarterback with only one. If DJU was a quarterback with only 1 year of film behind him, I could be like, okay, Norvell, you saw a guy, you thought you could fix him, and it didn't work, right? Like, you saw some things, you thought it would work in your system, it didn't work. That's unlucky. This cat has been in college football since 1979. What more did you need to see? Jance, you straight up said on this show that it doesn't fit with Norvell's offense. Now tell me this. If we see it, how the hell do you not?
Stubbornness. They think that they can just change a quarterback, change a quarterback's tendencies, change his playing style, right? It's what, I mean, the NFL does it every year when they take project quarterbacks and they think, okay, yep, we think he can fit in this scheme. Even though he's never played in it, we feel like he can do it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of the times it doesn't work. Like, that's like, you look at number 1 overall draft pick, top 5 draft picks. Why do they fail? Is because they just don't fit in the system. It doesn't matter if you're going to try to coach them and see if they can do it. They can't. Their physical abilities, their mental tendencies, they just don't have the capacity to handle the offense that you're trying to make them in a way perfect. You're not trying to make them be good at it. You're trying to make them be perfect at it. That's why Jaden Daniels is succeeding with Cliff Kingsbury. That's why Josh Allen was succeeding with Brian Dable. That's why Lamar Jackson was succeeding with Greg Roman, and now with Tom Monken. You think Tom Monken wants to run a Greg Roman sort of offense? He wants to run what he ran at Georgia with Stetson Bennett, but instead they took Greg Roman's formula, made it more RPO based heavy, included Patrick Ricard, the fullback, ran a lot of heavy sets with 2-3 tight ends, and again a lot of RPO based action. They're not trying to change Lamar Jackson to turn into what Stetson Bennett was at Georgia, because that's not the type of quarterback that he is. So, I mean, that's DJ Uiagalelei, guys. That's just DJ Uiagalelei. He does not fit this offense. And, again, when you're trying to turn him into something that he isn't, and you're trying to make him, and you're trying to have him make all these very kind of complex, these complex passing concept sort of throws, this is the result that you're going to get. He cannot hit the post corner. He cannot hit the deep post. He can barely even stretch the field vertically. He's a short to intermediate passer at best. And even then he continues to struggle on that. Why? Because you're not fixing his he can't even fix his throwing motion. You took my question is, what did they see in practice? Because I know with his windup and his throwing motion, they couldn't be satisfied with that and saying that, man, he is darring up our defense. Because if he was darring up your defense, that's a concern of itself. So it's stubbornness, but at the end of the day, guys, they're not. I mean, no, it took a broken finger to put him out because they weren't going to bench a quarterback. Let's be honest, they paid that man a lot of money. They paid him a lot of money. He got paid a lot of money by of course, NIL deals and also collectors. But we all know what's been going on behind the scenes. He got paid a lot of money. They're not benching the quarterback that got paid a lot of money, unless it's forcible injury. And this is why I continue to say, guys, the transfer portal, it can be your best friend, and it can also be your worst enemy. And Florida State tried to rely on the transfer portal. Hundreds of thousands of dollars got spent, and boosters are upset. Boosters are pissed. Boosters are upset. Local businesses around Tallahassee and maybe outside of it are pissed off because they gave thousands of dollars. And look at the result that they're getting.
It's not pretty. Gentlemen, we've been on here for nearly two and a half hours. Jeez. It's time for us to get up out of here. You already know what time it is. We go around the table, let everybody know where you can find all these guys' great content. Coach Sean, we'll start with you. Then we'll go Brinsky and then Jance. I got to keep you on your toes.
You can definitely find me at JMHO Sports Talk. That's on YouTube and that's on Twitter. Please tap in with me. The guys will be here. We'll be on here every Monday. We'll be on here doing the post-game shows after the games on Saturday. Just tap in with us when you get a chance. We try to stream it to everybody's channel. JMHO, just my humble opinion. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube.
Love it.
You guys catch me at the Sharpshooters Podcast. As always, it's right there in the chat. Just go on over there and subscribe to the channel. Almost at 600 subscribers. Also catch me at B_Sharp. B_Sharp on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And also, I just want to give a rest in peace to Kembe Mutombo passing today. And also Pete Rose while we was on here. The Baseball Hall of Fame should be ashamed of themselves. Should have been put this man when he was alive. I'm disgusted by it. And hopefully they do the right thing really, really soon by this man's family. And since we talking about baseball, these guys won the second game, so they're going to the playoffs. Thank you, God. Even though they ruined it for me, they blew it today when I went for the first game. And last but not least, shout out to my boy DeHaven, who works for the Atlanta Braves. I got my Outcast bobblehead that I've been begging him for, that I've been trying to get, and I also got my Ludacris bobblehead. So, shout out to my boy.
Stuff.
I like that Outcast bobblehead. I need one of those.
Yes, sir.
Jance, talk to the people.
Hey, Jance Sports on YouTube, Jance716 on Twitter, and then Jance716 again on TikTok. You guys know how I was gonna be, guys. We're gonna do a lot of reactions, a lot of fan reactions. I just did one yesterday about my Bills. I didn't go on a rant. I couldn't. I didn't have the energy. If Bama would have blew out Georgia like we were supposed to do, then yeah, I would have had a lot of energy for that. But I was tired. That was an exhausting game. Derrick Henry, I just don't know how he does it. I don't know how this man is 30 years of age and somehow in some way he continues to be the fastest running back, but at the same time the slowest running back I've ever seen in my life. And that goes back to watching him at Yulee High School, man. I don't know how he continues to do it. But Bama players are just, we do what we always do. We take over the NFL. Xavier McKinney, lead league interceptions. Marlon Humphrey is one of the best corners in the land. Derrick Henry at 30 might be the best running back in the land. Bama players do what Bama players do. So it's not that surprising. Shouldn't be surprised. We are NFL University. Everybody can talk about DBU and Ohio State,
RBU,
yeah, all that crap. We're NFLU.
NFLU.
Most players in the National Football League, most first rounders in the National Football League. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, guys, you can find me on those platforms. You guys know that I'll be in tune with a lot, so just make sure to follow.
Love it, guys. And as always from us, Monday evenings, Friday mornings, this is where you can find us as we are breaking down the weekend we just saw of college football. The week coming up will be on Friday. Typically, we talk all college football, but we spend most of our time in the SEC because, well, let's be honest, Are there any other conferences? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. I thought it was a
Oh,
Power
there,
One.
I mean, well, in about a year or two, there might not be, because I'm telling you, man, we're 4 automatic bids, 4 automatic.
They're pushing for,
like we're
which I don't
pushing.
like. I don't like that.
It's going to be. I'm telling you, it's the AFC and the NFC conference.
You get in who you get in. If you're good enough to get in, you get in. I don't want any automatic.
Right.
I'm fine with conference champions, right? Cool, whatever. Even then, though, let's just line up the best 12 teams.
Yep.
What if someone is like a conference champion, but they suck?
All conferences are not created equal.
Let's just line up the best 12.
They're gonna. They're forcing the Big 12. They're forcing Big 12 teams and ACC teams to reconsider. They're gonna want to join the SEC and the Big 10 now. Like, that's insane. 4 teams that are. I mean, it's gonna happen this year, but like the Big 10 conference is garbage. I don't care what people are telling me, man. Ohio State is probably the only great team in that conference. Penn State is a joke. Once again, almost losing to Illinois. Oregon, I mean, we saw what Oregon did struggling against Idaho. I mean, Oregon is they're not that good of a football team. USC should have got the blown doors off of them by Wisconsin. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, you cannot tell me that if it was to happen this year, that Michigan, USC, and Oregon are 3 teams that you'll trust to put on a great product against our top 4 SEC teams. I mean, come on, man. But it is what it is, man. It's just, I don't know. I'm not liking it, but hey, I mean, I talked about it before, guys. We're gonna, sooner or later, we're gonna get 2 conferences. It's gonna be 2 conferences playing for the playoffs, and that's the way it's gonna look right now.
And there's nothing we can do about it. But listen, could be worse. We could be Florida State fans, and we're not.
That is true.
So we're all good. We're all good. Please give David Pollock a shout out, bro. Shout out David Pollock. Thank you for pissing off Nick Saban and creating a wrath that to this day is still ongoing.
Yeah, because I was just about to say, ever since he had that little quote, like Georgia is new big dog, they 0-2 against the real big dog.
Shout out to Mike Griffin too, who talks about how Kirby wasn't. We're not studying Alabama. We're worried about Texas. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. I bet you're thinking about us now. I bet you're thinking about Bama now.
I'm not going to get into it.
Facts.
That's Time to let the 5th member of the panel say his piece. The spinning wheel of doom, and it spins. Hope y'all enjoy your evening. Thank you